to make public comment. This is just our pre-meeting to go over an agenda. So if you want your public comments to be heard in a regular meeting, that begins at 8 p.m. So if there's anyone who wants to make a public comment, raise your hand now. If you want to wait until 8, that's fine.
I'm showing none.
Okay, very good. Okay, so with that, we are going to move on to our agenda. Mike, can you read that statement?
You
of
got it.
COVID? Thank you. All right. Just get my little pen on. Okay. Just I'll change my color a minute. Sorry, guys. Color is important to follow along. Okay, good. All right. Bills, claims, vouchers. Who wants to second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have minutes. Who wants to second?
I will.
We have lots of proclamations.
Yeah.
Okay. So EMS week. Who wants to read it?
I'll do it.
Pam.
That was Pam, yeah.
Okay, mental health month.
I'll do it.
Oh, Mike, okay.
Mike. Gay Pride Month.
I'll do that.
Bernadette. National Cancer Survivors Day.
I'll do that.
Okay. National Gun Violence Awareness Day. Keep
I'll
going.
do that. I'll do that.
Okay, Pam. Reaffirm commitment and objective of the Village of Ridgewood Green Team.
I'll do that one.
And, all right, we're gonna fight over this one. Where are all the dads tonight? Who's the most current? All right. All
No,
right.
wait.
So,
I think Lorraine is.
I'm most current, I would say.
were you a dad's night mom?
Of course.
Fine. All right. I mean, I just want you to know that this is a big, very big moment. Now, so Lorraine, what we do is because it's two separate proclamations to sign, but when you read it, you could just say Somerville and Hawes, so you only have to read one.
Okay.
All right? Okay, good. Fine. Moving on. Okay. So we first have budget resolutions. Who wants to move?
I will.
Okay. Who wants to second?
Well, this is moving on the two that are together.
Correct, correct.
I'll second.
Bernie, good. Okay, and then we have the adoption 2021 budget as amended. Who wants to move?
Move.
Michael, who would like to second?
I will.
Very good. All right. We're going to ordinances. So we're 3861. Who wants to second?
I
Second.
will.
Okay,
Pam?
Bernadette.
Oh,
And-
Bernadette?
Pam, you want to move it?
Yeah.
What's the
Yeah.
matter?
I'm just looking where the move is. Yeah, I see it. I see it. Got it.
All right. We have no public hearings. Wait, right. Okay, that was Ridgewood Water. Please, okay. We have public hearings, none. Ridgewood Water resolutions. Okay, who wants to move?
I'll move it.
L, okay, who wants to second?
I'll second.
Bernadette, okay. This is separate, okay. This is the Ridgewood Water new facility. Who wants to move it?
I'll move it.
Mike, who wants to second?
I will.
Lorraine, good, okay. Now we have introductions, cannabis. Introduction, who would like to second?
I will.
Bernie,
Mhm.
okay. Who would like to move it?
I will. Pam.
No. Okay, good. Okay, we're on to telecommunication facilities, public right of way. Who would like to, this is a public hearing, right? Yep.
Yes.
Okay, who wants to second?
I'll second.
Mike. Okay. Title, Mike. Who wants to move it?
I'll move it.
Bernie, okay, great. All right. Now we have ordinance Glenwood Road is a one-way, so this was carried. Who wants to second?
I will. Pam,
Got it. Pam. So you got that 3 times, and who wants to move it?
I will, Lorraine.
Okay, and then we're down to resolutions. So we have a handful of resolutions. We have a lot of resolutions. Okay, who would like to move the consent agenda resolutions?
I will.
I will.
Okay, who said that? Oh,
Lorraine,
Lorraine, you're gonna
okay.
move it? Who wants to second?
I'll second. Lorraine's gonna move.
Bernie.
Okay.
Okay, and then we have authorized payment of attorneys' fees and costs, one village, one vote litigation. Who wants to move it?
I will. Pam,
Okay, who wants to second?
I will.
Okay. All right, and that's it.
Okay.
On the closed session, do we have a separate Zoom link? Did we
Yes.
get an
Yes.
email for that?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the one that
That's where you were.
That's the
in.
one that was, I was on first tonight?
Right.
Yes, and you know you bumped us all
Even
out
when
of
I'm
the meeting.
early, I'm late.
Yeah, but you bumped us out of the meeting because I kept trying to log on and you caused all of us not to be able to log in.
Sorry.
Is that the wrong?
Okay, you don't need to apologize. I'm just saying.
All right, so I just need a motion to adjourn.
Oh,
this.
wait, hang on. Oh, sorry, hang on. I forgot we were doing that. Okay, we're still here on this thing.
So moved.
Okay. And a
Second.
second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
I,
Hi.
Okay. See you in a few.
Oh, shoot, I forgot to ask Heather a question. Pam, what was that thing we were supposed to do?
me?
Yeah.
What was I supposed to do? You called me and I called you back.
You did call me back?
I did. Yeah. Left your message.
You did?
Huh? You want to talk on the phone?
Yes, go off. Yeah, let me call you. Hang on.
Okay. Hello.
How are you?
Okay.
Hey Bob, how are you?
I'm doing well, and you?
Good. Big night.
Yay. Budget adoption.
Long time coming.
Yeah, I agree.
Hello.
Hi, Mike. Hi, Susan.
Well, oh Mike, I liked it without the tie. No, I mean, a tie
Around
is
to
nice,
get-
but it kind of was very nice, just the white collar with the jacket. I mean, the
Yeah.
tie is fine. I mean, seriously, but it just was.
Seriously,
I like
don't
the
take the tie off, Mike.
I
But
like the time.
All right, so we have some mixed opinions, but that's okay. You know what? I'm just gonna stay with the tie because it's there. I was
Okay.
rushing around to get ready, and I saw Lorraine. I saw Jim in Stop and Shop, and I tell Lorraine not to be late. I should have
Oh!
known.
he told me, he said, Mike said he's gonna be late.
No, I said to him, tell Lorraine not to be late tonight.
Oh,
And
that's
I ended up
funny. Well,
being
maybe he needs a hearing aid because he heard, tell Lorraine I'm gonna be late. And you
Then you
were.
were late,
Well,
Michael.
then, yes, that's what I said.
Oh, that's so funny.
We must have a full house here.
Yeah, almost.
I don't know how I can make it like that you're just looking straight into the camera and your eyes aren't going every which way.
Oh,
Uh,
you know what, Dylan? How do
what do you
I?
mean?
Because when everybody does the flag salute and you put your hand over your left, everybody looks like this except for me.
My
Is it
screen
because
is
my-
flipped, so I'm right.
Yeah, I'm with you, Lorraine. Everybody looks.
Put
Everyone
your hand, do it now, flag
Do it.
salute.
No, you look fine, Mike. See, it's only me.
No,
No,
Mike
Mike,
is the
I'm right.
same way as you, but I'm the right way
Everybody's the
because my,
same.
No,
I have my
everybody is.
screen flipped.
When I look at Mike, he looks correct.
All right, let's just get on with the meeting. I'm not worried about it. Everybody
agree.
understands that Zoom is flipped and flopped in every which way, so it's
Okay.
fine.
Zoom is it's something.
Crazy. I think I'm right though, because my screen is flipped to be the right way.
Everybody looks correct when I look at them on the screen.
Oh, well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Because when I see myself every single time, I'm like, I look back.
I'm the only. Yeah, I get that too.
Okay,
All
Okay,
right.
you ready?
all right, we're just waiting for Pam. Pam, if you're in there.
Does
There
mine
she
change it
is.
clearly, or is it backwards?
Is that-
No,
Read it.
That looks straight.
All right, gang, let's get a move on here. I'm going to call this meeting to order. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Village of Ridgewood Village Council, regular public meeting, May 12th, 2021. The time is 8 p.m. sharp. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by a posting on the bulletin board in Village Hall, by mail to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submission to all persons entitled, same as provided by law of a schedule, including the date and time of this meeting. Due to the fact that we continue to meet through a remote meeting format, there are some required announcements to be made. Deputy Mayor Seaton.
Right, all participants are muted during this meeting. Anyone wishing to make comments may do so during comments from the public and during public hearings on any ordinances by dialing *9 on your phones to raise your hand. And then once you are recognized, dialing *6 on your phones to unmute, or by raising your hand icon if you're on your computers. You must state your name and address for the record. Members of the public may also submit written comments to us for any future remote meetings by either email to Donna Jackson, Deputy Village Clerk at djackson@ridgewoodnj.net with the subject line "Comments for Village Council Meeting," or written letter to Donna Jackson, Deputy Village Clerk at Village Hall. Written comments must have a name and address and be received by 4 p.m. on the day before the remote meeting in order to be read into the record during the meeting. All written comments must adhere to the time limits already set by ordinance. Members of the public commenting during a remote meeting shall not act in any manner to disrupt the meeting. If anyone becomes disruptive during the meeting, they will be muted. If time permits, the disruptive individual shall be allowed to speak after all other members of the public are provided an opportunity to comment. Any continued disruption may result in the meeting and the member being prevented from speaking during the remainder of this meeting. Disruptive conduct includes, but is not limited to, shouting, interruption, and the use of profanity.
Okay, very good. Roll call. Thank you.
Councilwoman Perrin,
Here.
Councilwoman Reynolds,
Here,
Deputy Mayor Seaton,
Here.
Councilwoman Walsh,
Here.
Mayor Newton.
Here. Please join us for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the
to the
flag
flag
of the
of
United States of America and to the
and to the
republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with liberty and justice for all.
Please join us in a moment of silence for our men and women serving our nation and our first responders. Okay, thank you. We'll start with the financial reports. I move the bills, claims, and vouchers and statements of funds on hand as of April 30th, 2021 be accepted as submitted.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes, I understand that this includes Matt Rogers' bills, the bill list, and the bill list of the water utility and the parking utility.
Reynolds,
yes,
Seaton,
Yes.
Walsh,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes. I move the village council minutes of January 6th, January 27th, and April 14th, 2021, having been reviewed by the village council and now available in the village clerk's office, be approved as submitted.
second,
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
yes,
Seaton,
Yes.
Walsh,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes. So this evening, we have quite a list of proclamations. We're going to begin with Councilwoman Perrin reading the proclamation in honor of Emergency Medical Services Week.
Whereas emergency medical services is a vital public service, and whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury, and whereas the members of emergency medical services teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas emergency medical services teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of emergency medical services providers by titling Caring Our Communities as the theme of the 2021 Emergency Medical Services Week. And whereas the theme of Emergency Medical Services Week will serve to educate the residents of the Village of Ridgewood about the EMS profession, which is a call to have responsibility to care for the community and for fellow EMS providers, that doesn't end when the shift ends. And whereas the title, Caring for Our Communities, conveys an incredibly powerful message about the EMS profession and the honorable men and women who serve within it. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim the week of May 16th through May 22nd, 2021 as Emergency Medical Services Week, and encourages the community to support Ridgewood Emergency Medical Services, as well as all of their programs, ceremonies, and activities.
Thank you, Councilwoman. The next proclamation, Mental Health Month Awareness, will be read by Deputy Mayor Seaton.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas West Bergen Mental Health was founded in 1963 as a child guidance clinic and today is a full-range community mental health center serving over 3,000 people a year. And whereas West Bergen Mental Health offers a wide range of services that are designed to meet the needs of the people and families that it serves. And whereas mental health is essential to everyone's overall health and well-being, and whereas all Americans experience times of difficulty and stress in their lives, and whereas prevention is an effective way to reduce the burden of mental health conditions, and whereas there is a strong body of research that supports specific tools that all Americans can use to better handle challenges and protect their health and well-being, and whereas mental health conditions are real and prevalent in our nation, and whereas with effective treatment, those individuals with mental health conditions can recover and lead full productive lives. And whereas each business, school, government, agency, health care provider, organization, and citizen shares the burden of mental health problems and has a responsibility to promote mental wellness and support prevention efforts. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim May 2021 as National Mental Health Care Awareness Month and calls upon the citizens of the Village of Ridgewood to recommit our community to increasing awareness and understanding of mental health, educate our citizens on the steps they can take to protect their mental health, and recognize the need for appropriate and accessible services for all people with mental health conditions.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Welcome.
Councilwoman Walsh will read the proclamation for June is Gay Pride Month. Councilwoman.
Whereas the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood recognizes the human rights of individuals everywhere and embraces the rights of all people to live their lives freely in a world that is accepting and respectful. And whereas for far too long, members of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, or questioning LGBTQ community have been marginalized, dehumanized, and demoralized for merely living in a manner consistent with our nation's fundamental beliefs of life, liberty, and freedom for all. And whereas sadly and regrettably, persons of the LGBTQ community have faced prejudice and discrimination, and too many have had to hide or deny their sexual orientation in order to keep their jobs or to live safely in their communities. And whereas the Village Council recognizes there are still many challenges before us, and we must stand together firm in our resolve to reject acts of prejudice and acts of hatred and violence against any person for any reason. And whereas senseless hatred, bigotry, and intolerance has no place in society, and it is incumbent that village leaders and all residents foster great empathy, understanding, and caring for each other. And whereas members of the LGBTQ community have made important and lasting contributions to our village, state, and nation by enriching our lives and helping to encourage and develop a more inclusive and thoughtful world. And whereas members of the LGBTQ community include our acquaintances, our coworkers, our neighbors, our friends, our loved ones, and our family members, and each and every one deserves respect, understanding, compassion, and the right to love whoever they choose. And whereas the Village of Ridgewood embraces all of our brothers and sisters, appreciating our similarities and celebrating our differences. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim June 2021 as LGBTQ Pride Month and recognizes village residents to celebrate our diversity and recognize the need to embrace all members of our community with love and respect.
Thank you, Councilwoman Walsh. Councilwoman Reynolds will read proclamation for National Cancer Survivor Days.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas today, 16.9 million Americans are cancer survivors thanks to advances in early detection, treatment, and research. And whereas surviving cancer can leave a host of problems in its wake with physical, emotional, and financial hardships often persisting for years after diagnosis, treatment with challenges including access to cancer specialists and promising new treatments, denial of health and life insurance coverage, financial hardships long after the initial diagnosis and treatment, employment problems, psychological struggles, and the strain on personal relationships and the profound fear of recurrence. And whereas the Village of Ridgewood has an active and productive cancer survival population, demonstrating that cancer survivors can live active, productive lives, even though they still face many challenges. And whereas communities all across America will be celebrating National Cancer Survivors Day on Sunday, June 6, 2021, as part of the world's largest annual cancer survival event. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim June 6, 2021 as National Cancer Survivals Day in the Village of Ridgewood and urges all residents to join in this joyous celebration of life.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And Councilwoman Perrin will read the proclamation for National Gun Violence Awareness Day.
Whereas each day, 91 Americans are killed by gun violence and countless others are injured, with Americans being 25 times more likely to be murdered with guns than people in other developed countries. And whereas protecting public safety in the communities they serve is one of the highest responsibilities of the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood, which is why support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens goes hand in hand with keeping guns away from dangerous people. And whereas June 2nd, 2020 would have been the 23rd birthday of Hadia Pendleton, a teenager who marched in President Obama's second inaugural parade and was tragically shot and killed just weeks later. To help honor Hadia and the 91 Americans whose lives are cut short and the countless survivors who are injured by shootings every day, a national coalition of organizations has designated June 4th, 2021 as National Gun Violence Awareness Day. And whereas the idea was inspired by a group of Hadia's friends who commemorate her life by wearing orange. They choose this color because hunters wear orange to announce themselves to other hunters when out in the woods, as orange is also a color that symbolizes the value of human life. And whereas we renew our commitment to reduce gun violence and pledge to do all we can to keep firearms out of the wrong hands, as well as encourage responsible gun ownership to help keep our children safe. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim June 4th, 2021 as National Gun Violence Awareness Day in the Village of Ridgewood, and encourages all residents of the Village of Ridgewood to support the efforts in their community to prevent tragic effects of gun violence and to honor and value human lives.
Thank you. And Deputy Mayor Seaton will be reaffirming the commitment and objectives of the Village of Ridgewood Green Team. Deputy Mayor?
All right, thank you, Mayor. Whereas the Village of Ridgewood adopted resolution number 10-152, creation of a green team at a regular meeting conducted on June 9th, 2010. And whereas the village resolved in that resolution that they wish to pursue local initiatives and actions that would lead to sustainable Jersey municipal certification. And whereas the village further resolved that in that resolution to create the village green team to serve as the village's agent for the sustainable Jersey municipal certification process. And whereas the green team was composed of individuals who are interested in advancing the efforts of Ridgewood in the Sustainable Jersey Municipal Certification Program, and that have been actively working as a green team since its creation. And whereas the group has been creating and cataloging significant sustainability actions so that Ridgewood may maintain Sustainable Jersey certification at a silver level in 2021. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village Council, the Village of Ridgewood, does hereby proclaim that the Green Team of the Village of Ridgewood is active in the community and advancing sustainable practices and actions included in the Sustainable Jersey Municipal Certification Program. And the Green Team has been and shall continue to be composed of individuals who have demonstrated interest in advancing the efforts of the Village of Ridgewood to pursue certification through the Sustainable Jersey Municipal Certification Program. And the role of the Green Team has been and shall continue to be to lead and coordinate the sustainability activities of the community.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
You are
And our
welcome.
last proclamation, Councilman Reynolds will be declaring Dad's Night for Somerville, and Somerville was Dad's Night days.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas the Village of Ridgewood treasures its children, and whereas our school system supports and nurtures our children, and whereas Dad's Night has helped our schools by raising hundreds of thousands of dollars over the past 70 years, And whereas Dad's Night is dedicated to providing this service to the village's children, and whereas this year's event will be titled Dad's Night 77 Excellent Adventure. Now therefore, the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim Friday, May 21st, 2021, and Saturday, May 22nd, 2021, as Dad's Night 77 Excellent Adventure at Somerville Elementary School and Hawes Elementary School in the Village of Ridgewood, in honor of all the dads here this evening, or dads out there if you're there, as well as all of those who have volunteered before them.
Okay, great, thank you. And the Dad's Night moms. Okay, great. And with that, so we thank you, Councilwoman Reynolds. We will go to comments from the public, not to exceed 3 minutes per person. Dylan?
Okay, first person is Kathy Brianza. Please unmute.
Hi, I'm Kathy Brianza from 364 Graydon Terrace. Thank you for having me. Hello to the council. Hope you're all doing well. So I want to address the hiring of the 2 additional firefighters in lieu of the per diem. I don't have a position ultimately on the hiring of these 2 additional firefighters. However, I'm concerned that I have not seen numbers that justify the hiring with salaries of $37,000 in pensions to replace the per diem EMS services. I think in order to compare apples to apples, we would need to know the cost of the per diem services over the past year or few years, and I would suspect they're less than $80,000. I understand the town's anticipating 2 things. One, that the population growth due to the new development, which will require more services, and 2, that the EMS may unionize, which would be more costly. I'm going to say this to those 2 arguments. First, they haven't happened yet. They may not happen, and we can address them when they do. Second, I don't believe the hiring of 1 per diem unionized EMS, even unionized, would be more expensive than 2 firefighters. Lastly, I would say that during a year when taxes are increasing over 4% and people are hurting because of COVID, an additional expense should be added only if it's proven absolutely necessary. As a member of the public, I really haven't seen anything to support that. And it seems these hirings are based on speculation. And I also wonder if this could give rise to litigation against the town somehow, which would be another expense. So lastly, there seems to be strong support for keeping the per diem from the EMT volunteers who, are really the people on the ground doing this. And I think you have to really respect what they have to say. And they are concerned that firefighters can be out on a call when an ambulance comes in, which would delay the response to the person in need. So those supporting this change seem to argue we need more firefighters, but yet they're also arguing that we have enough firefighters that if this should occur, both EMTs would be available to go with the volunteer service. And it can't be both ways. So I'm not sure what the genesis of the change is. I don't see a strong rationale. And I would suggest suspending the vote just until more information is available to the public. And thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Have a good evening.
You too.
All right, next is a caller ending in 9557. Please unmute.
Good evening. State your name and address for the record. Hello, please unmute.
Give him 1 second. No.
Can we go to the next caller and bring that one back after?
Yeah.
Okay. Next.
Okay, next is Siobhan Winograd. Please unmute.
Good evening. Name and address for the record.
Hi, Siobhan Cram Winograd, 274 Ivy Place. I'm calling in because at the last meeting after public comment, there was a response to the health barn RFP. And being completely honest, I was taken aback with the new time frame. I think a number of citizens, given the press and some of the comments, felt that mid-April, this RFP was imminent. And I'm really concerned with what appears to be the slow walk of the process. Today I drove for the Feed the Front Lines delivery, and it was thinking a lot about how lucky we are to have this grant and have received $1 million to feed people who need it to, solve hunger. And I think we've taken that for granted. Good governance relies on citizen engagement and transparency and responsiveness. And you've had nothing but citizen engagement on the health barn issue since October. And a broad swath of citizens have shown up, from young to older to more mature to the restaurants. And there's a rally cry around Health Barn prior to the grant, and now after the grant, even more so. So I'm really hoping that you guys take the time to address the confusion as to why this appears to be a slow walk. It shouldn't be that way. I know that all you guys have received the past RFPs. In 2015, in 45 days, 2 RFPs were issued for this property. And I'm just concerned that here we are now with a bona fide business that's benefiting everybody, that's beloved, and pumping $1 million into our business district. And we're not really dancing on top of the pin, which is what we should be doing to issue this RFP. I also think that, and not in the most critical way, the meeting in April left the public with the distinct, impression, and the press that followed, that this was a done deal and the RFP would go out immediately. And again, given prior RFPs and their time frame, particularly related to this property, it should be moving faster. So I'm hoping you guys can address that and, discuss why it's taking so long and why the public wasn't made aware that the process would be longer. The second issue, I want to echo some of the prior comments. I too don't feel that the budget should move forward because we're not all armed with the same set of facts here. There's been, clearly a decision needs to be made, but what a lot of the public is struggling with is what facts are we drawing upon here to make those decisions? And, it might be COVID, it might be because the sunshine binders were unavailable, but I think that the public deserves to feel comfortable in the numbers that are being inputted into this decision, and that's just not happening. I attended every budget meeting, and the lack of information, either due to COVID or other things, was really made it hard to follow the process. So I would encourage you to provide the public with the appropriate numbers and then go about making your decision.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Next person is Eric Freeling. Please unmute.
Eric,
evening.
125 South Maple Avenue, Ridgewood. Good evening. I'm calling today to thank all the members of Ridgewood Emergency Services for all that they've done over the past year. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the members of Ridgewood Emergency Services stepped up to help this town to do what many others cannot or would not do. While surrounding towns struggled, emergency medical technicians of Ridgewood suited up and stepped in, while special operations members handled a record number of support and logistics tasks. The decision to hire additional firefighters is not justified. The legacy of this decision made tonight will last long past those making the decision. While it has been quoted repeatedly that these firefighters will only be making $37,000 a year, they receive annual increases in salaries and raises, as well as pensions and benefits. Based on the last contract of the Ridgewood Fire Department published on the state website from 2015, and the estimated 30% additional costs for pension benefits, as stated by Mr. Rooney at an earlier meeting, this decision will cost the town about $7.5 million over the course of their careers. Undoubtedly, with raises, overtime, and cost of living increases, this price tag will be much higher, but would be very difficult to predict. As a lifelong resident of Ridgewood, I do not see how these continued budget increases will allow me to continue to live in this town. Finally, there has been no plan to show how the new daytime EMS program would even function. No plan has been produced or publicized by Chief Van Gore, and fire crews have already been forced to make difficult decisions on which calls to respond when serving double duty. No outside consultation or labor study have been performed. The proposed reduction in services in the village poses a major safety hazard to our residents and our guests. I ask that you seriously consider the long-term ramifications of this decision, and I do not proceed with this change at this time. Happy EMS week, and I yield the remainder of my time.
Thank you.
All right, next person is Bob Upton. Please unmute.
Good evening, Bob. A name and address for the record?
Good evening, Bob Upton, 172 West Glen Avenue and Green Ridgewood Chair. Good evening, Mayor and Council members. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the Green Ridgewood Committee and the Green Team. At recent village council meetings, the council has discussed and has viewed favorably temporarily waiving an existing ban on balloons in order to promote downtown Ridgewood retail businesses. And I see this is on the agenda tonight. While sympathizing with the need to promote retail activity, especially in the current economic climate, we oppose this proposal on principle on the basis that the concerns around the harmful effects of single-use plastics, including balloons and especially helium-filled balloons, are widely recognized. So we feel there's not sufficient justification to consider an exception to the ban. And as in all cases of single-use plastics, every effort must be made to seek alternatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Have a good evening.
All right. I'm going to try to call her again. 9557, please unmute.
Okay. Hello, caller 9557. Can you please unmute? I don't know if maybe they don't know how, Dylan.
I sent the thing to him that she tell him how to unmute.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Hello. Good evening.
Erin Taddy, 419 Bogart Avenue. I'm calling to mention a couple of things I'm concerned about. Number one, I really hope that the RFP will be expedited for Health Barn. I have had the privilege of being a driver volunteer for Feed the Front Lines, and I am just astounded at the generosity of the restaurants, number one. And number two, the fact that Stacy Antine and the Health Barn have been able to do this incredible thing where you see the humanity and you see the unbelievable difference it makes. I mean, I delivered one night and there was a family that received the meals that had five kids. So that was 7 people that were the beneficiaries of the generosity, thanks to Stacy and her initiative. So I really hope that Ridgewood should be doing everything in their power to keep this incredible, incredible benefit to our town. Secondly, in terms of defunding the EMS, that is incredibly concerning to me. It's concerning for a few reasons. It's concerning that I only heard about it because Linda Scarpa brought it to everyone's attention, which I think the entire community should be very thankful to her for bringing it to our attention. And I don't understand in any universe where it's okay to pay more money for something and have less services. And I also think that anybody who serves on the village council who has a relative who's on the fire department should recuse themselves from anything, from voting on this matter. Doesn't seem to, to make sense, and it seems to be a direct conflict of interest. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Linda, please unmute.
Linda Scarpa, 569 Northern Parkway, Ridgewood. The Village Council is the governing body of the Village of Ridgewood. We elected you to represent us with open communication and most of all transparency. This is not happening with the defunding of the EMT and hiring yet 2 more firefighters, even though they got one in December. As an elected official, you all took an oath of obligation to the village to do what's in the best interest of the people of the village, especially in terms of labor, safety, and finance. This idea is quietly slipped in, and now tonight you want to vote on this plan, which has gotten 0 support from the entire village. This is mentioned in Tap Into Ridgewood, Ridgewood Blog, Ridgewood News, Bergen Record, and all social media posts dealing with Ridgewood groups. It has 0 support. Do you understand that? We do not want to support defunding the EMT and hiking up the taxes 4.3 plus 1.99, which is school, for a total of 6.29 with 0 justification. No labor, finance, nor safety studies are given at all. This is clearly more taxes, less first responder, and a gamble with our safety. This gamble will be on you, according to your yes vote tonight. It's loud and clear. This is not what we want. Why do you not want to produce any labor, finance, or safety studies to prove your point? Why do you want to shove this plan through against our will? Instead, I was told at what cost safety. Okay, while browbeating the entire EMT publicly on May 5th, 2021 at a council meeting, over an incident and was resolved when this person was terminated. Right, at what cost safety? To defund and replace 9 per diem first responder EMT, along with countless volunteers to hire 2 more firefighters with zero proof on labor, finance, or safety studies, which the taxpayer will pay at least $180,000 in pension benefits and stipend. At what cost safety when you want to remove the paid per diem EMT from all daytime duties, thereby demolishing community service they perform and allow them only to work 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. hours, Monday through Friday, weekends, day and night for zero pay, while the firefighters perform both fire and EMT alone without the EMT. At what cost safety? When the fire chief himself said on February 21st in the YouTube, he would ask other towns for EMT help if needed, while promoting defunding our own EMT. This could mean point blank a loss of life in terms of minutes lost when waiting for neighboring EMTs to show up at all, and taxpayers would have to pay this as well. Understand, their EMT, they serve their community first, then they'll come. That is what your vote of yes to proceed ahead with this plan will do. Are you willing to gamble with our safety? Are you willing to promote an idea that the village does
Okay,
not?
Linda, thank you. Linda, I'm sorry, the time is up. Thank you very much for calling in.
All right, next person is Jeannie Johnson. Please unmute.
Good evening, name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm Jeannie Johnson, 325 Maston Place. And I just want to start off by giving another plug to Stacy Antine and the Health Barn Foundation for planting seeds of patience, compassion, and love into this community. Stacy has shown an extraordinary amount of patience through this RFP process. And she has also received much love and compassion from those of us who are eager to see that she stays at Habernickel to continue her good work. So I just urge all of you to expedite the RFP process as quickly and as efficiently as possible so this extraordinary businesswoman can get down to the business that she loves to do and that she can continue to spread goodwill into our community. And I also want to thank all of the members of the council for volunteering to serve in this capacity. I'd like to invite you, Council Members Walsh, Council Member Reynolds, and Mayor Knudsen to join Deputy Mayor Seaton and Councilwoman Perrin and offer more of your time to lead, once again, a free guided tour of Ridgewood during Ridgewood Walk Step into Summer event in June. As everyone knows, Ridgewood Walks is a 100% volunteer effort, and it was designed to create a more connected community. We'll send you some info in the coming days, and we'll look forward to hearing what parts of the village you'd like to highlight. I think this is a terrific way for leaders to meet their constituents in person. So hopefully we can get you signed up on our sign-up sheet that'll go out next week, and you can meet more of your constituents. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Next is Barbara Riley. Please unmute.
Good evening, name and address for the record.
This is Charles Riley, 448 North Maple Avenue.
Hi, Charlie.
How
How are
you
you?
doing? Good, Sue. How you doing?
Good.
I just want to say a few words about the proposal to make Glenwood Road a one-way at the Hohokus train station. I live at 448 North Maple Avenue, which is at the corner of North Maple and Bryden Place. For those of you who are not familiar with this intersection, it's a T intersection in which traffic traveling south on North Maple, wanting to proceed to go west, very often cuts through Bryden Place to make a left on Oak and then a right on West Glen Avenue. During the 40 years I've lived here, I've often seen cars use this as a cut through, and unfortunately they do it at high speed. The road itself is an incline, and many cars will gas their pedal to get up to the end of the street. I've even seen cars at the last minute, in order to avoid the red light, the light switching to red at Glen Avenue, where there is a light, will just quickly turn right onto Bryden Place. And you even wonder whether they see anything, if anybody's crossing the street there at all. So this, during these 40 years, this has been a very difficult situation for our residents on Bryden Place and Oak Street, to the extent that it extends to Glen Avenue. And the closure of Glen Avenue to a one-way will exceedingly exacerbate the situation, I believe. Certainly when things become more normal, which we hope will be soon, for commuter traffic at Hohokus Station. And I happen to have commuted from Hohokus Station for 34 years into Manhattan. So I'm very familiar with the volume of traffic that occurs as a result of commuters coming from to the train station, to and from the train station. So the closure and making it one way will certainly increase traffic on North Maple going south, and trying to avoid the light at Glen Avenue. And I propose that you consider prohibiting right-hand turns onto Bryden Place during commuting hours from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. in the morning and 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. at night, in order to ensure that the safety of those who live on Bryden Place, and children and others who cross, and elderly people who cross Bryden Place as they travel north and south on North Maple Avenue. I appreciate your consideration of this, and thank you very much for all your service.
Thank you, Charlie. Have a good evening.
You too now, sir.
All right, next person is Josh Schneider. Please unmute.
Good evening, Josh. Name and address for the record.
Hey, my name is Joshua Schneider, 435 Overbrook Road. I'm a Ridgewood resident, and I've been a volunteer EMT with Ridgewood Emergency Services for over 5 years now. I'm rising to speak tonight in support of the per diem EMT program, and I'm opposed to its termination. Earlier today, I had a respectful and productive conversation with Mayor Knudsen, and where we discussed each of our points of view regarding the EMT program and the proposed shift in responsibilities to the fire department. The Mayor stated that the primary reason for the termination of the program was a couple of questionable responses. The Mayor cited her elderly mother and her desire to ensure that in the event of an emergency, she'd receive timely medical care. I can certainly sympathize with this argument. I have 2 grandparents in their 70s and 80s, who are Ridgewood residents, and I'd want the same for them. We can all agree that providing emergency medical care for village residents is a top priority and a critical service that municipal government must provide. But shifting these services to the fire department is not a solution to the stated issue. The fact is that the instances of questionable call responses that the Mayor mentioned were the result of 2 individuals who no longer work for the department. This point aside, the root cause of the situation is that Ridgewood EMTs are woefully undersupported. All of the per diem EMTs work at least one other full-time job, not by choice, but out of necessity. This is due to the fact that EMTs in the state of New Jersey are not paid a living wage and must work multiple jobs to make ends meet. Unlike their counterparts in the fire department, they do not reap the benefits of a union. They do not have a full-time chief advocating for them, and they do not receive benefits. The fact of the matter is that we can't look at a system that fails to support EMTs and then proceed to blame and punish them when things go wrong. The way we resolve this issue is not by defunding Ridgewood Emergency Services, it's by supporting them and providing them with the resources they need to be successful. Another point I'd like to highlight is the proposed plan by the fire department will render the village less capable of responding to multiple emergencies at once. The fire department does not plan to dedicate firefighters to work on the ambulance, meaning that in the event of a large fire that exhausts the resources of the department, no one will be left to staff the ambulance and respond to concurrent medical emergencies. When asked what the fire department would do if there was a medical call at the same time as a large fire, Chief Van Gore stated that Ridgewood would have to rely on mutual aid ambulances from other municipalities. This would significantly increase response times and leave us with the same issue that was cited as the reason for the termination of the per diem EMT program. The plan to move daytime EMS operations to the fire department will not make us will not make us safer. It will leave us with more vulnerabilities and a weaker emergency services department. Our Ridgewood EMTs have served us with honor over the course of the pandemic and over the past 30 plus years. Instead of defunding them, let's give them the tools they need to be successful. I urge you to keep the per diem EMT program and ask that you vote against any legislation that would result in its termination. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Josh.
All right, next person is Christine Sinag.
Saganic.
Good evening, Christine. Name and address for the
Not,
record.
not an easy name to say. Good evening, Christine Saganic Rush, 87 California Street in Ridgewood. Good evening, Mayor Knudsen and members of the council. I'm just following up on an email that I had sent to the mayor and council earlier this morning. And I'm going to read that into the record now. I am hopeful that as stewards of our village, the council will be mindful of what is truly in the best interests of Ridgewood residents when considering the future of Ridgewood Emergency Services. Residents deserve transparency and a meaningful opportunity to participate in this process after informed discourse from interested parties. To allow otherwise would create not only the appearance of impropriety, but the presumption of it. A public forum whereby members of Ridgewood Emergency Services and the council discuss the facts would go a long way in dispelling any misinformation which may be circulating. I, for one, would consider the failure to hold an open forum on this issue evidence of thinly veiled nepotism, and I am certain other residents would concur. We started out this meeting by issuing a proclamation, honoring the emergency services. And I assume those statements made in support of this honor were true and accurate. To vote to defund the EMS would certainly be a disservice to the residents. And I've said it before when speaking against the high density development, which was steamrolled by the developers over the residents' concerns. And you can't unring a bell. You know, we have 4 high density apartment buildings, which are going to bring in an indeterminate amount of new residents, and along with those residents, individuals that need emergency medical response. Please don't vote on this issue tonight. If this decision is truly in the best interest of the residents of our village, we can wait. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christine. Have a good evening.
You too.
All right, next person is Boyd Loving. Please unmute.
Good evening. Boyd, name and address for the record. You didn't unmute. Okay, there you go. Boyd.
Good evening. This is actually Ann Loving, not Boyd Loving. Same house. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Ann.
There's 2 things I'd like to, yes, thank you, Mayor Knutson and Mayor and Council. The first thing I'd like to say is I'm a little bit sick to death of all these people who are calling in and talking about the RFP for Health Barn. It's not an RFP for Health Barn. It's an RFP for the Habernickel property, the building on the Habernickel property. So I wish people would get that straight. It's not an RFP for Health Barn. The other thing I'd like to say is that I really appreciate all the work that all of you have done on the budget. I know that it is an extraordinary effort to put this budget together. I trust your expertise. I know that all the meetings were broadcast. I don't know how anyone could get on to these meetings and complain that there has been no transparency. Ironically, some of the loudest complainers are the very people who promoted the One Village, One Vote initiative, which took away our right to vote on the Board of Education budget. These people said that we elect officials to the Board of Education to manage the budget, and we need to trust them. And now here they are complaining about the village council budget process, and I am just shaking my head. Again, I would like to thank all of you for all of your work on the budget, and I look forward to it being approved this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Have a good evening.
All right, next person is Michael Heberling. Please unmute.
Hi, this is Michael Heberling. I live at 220 Beechwood Road. Good evening. At risk of piling on, I just wanted to state that I am against the elimination of the EMS per diem. Others have spoken passionately about it. I just want to add my voice to that. It's not the right decision, I believe. And honestly, I think it's a pretty poor way to celebrate EMS week by cutting the per diem. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening, Michael.
All right. Next person is Bob Furman. Please unmute.
Good evening, Bob Furman, 49 Clinton Avenue. Now that all adults are eligible to be vaccinated, I hope this council would consider protecting the residents' health by insisting that vaccination be a requirement for continued village employment. Glad also to see the court-ordered payment to the One Village, One Vote attorney is on the agenda. What you have not disclosed is what we taxpayers will be on the hook for payments to Matt Rogers, Thaddeus Del Gurcio, and William Northgrave, which represented the village, and we will be paying that as well. Regarding the RFP, I'm really not surprised, pardon my skepticism, but I'm not surprised that it's being slow walked. These things tend to pop up in the summer when less people are paying attention. Regarding the EMT, I think it's very important for people to realize that every firefighter will cost village residents over the lifetime of their employment $3 to $4 million. Not $37,500. And with that, I want to thank you all for your time tonight.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Have a good evening.
All right, next person is Alfredo Aguilar.
Good evening. Name and address for the record.
Alfredo Aguilar, 37 Brighton Place. Good
Go
evening.
ahead, Alfredo, go ahead.
I'd like to echo the concerns voiced by Mr. Charles Riley regarding the conversion of Glenwood Avenue into a one-way street. This would undoubtedly result in higher volume of traffic cutting through Brighton Avenue, Brighton Place at high speeds. This is already something that's happening as he discussed. The proposed signage to prohibit right-hand turns onto Brighton is a great idea. This street already has a high number of children and senior citizens walking the area as they're either sometimes walking to Hohokus downtown or even Ridgewood downtown. And I personally witnessed several close calls with oncoming traffic. So a couple other items to consider in the proposal to add the signage prohibiting the right-hand turn, at least during commuting hours onto Brighton, is that the area has recently turned over and the vast majority of homes have young families with elementary school age children and middle school children that have moved in. There are several active school bus stops on this block, elementary and middle school. And also something that people may not think about off the bat is that it is a well-known wildlife crossing where we have wildlife coming across Maple from the brook. If you're not an animal lover, I am. But however, on top of that, you can imagine the collisions that could happen, which at best would result in property damage and at worst, personal injury, which it can get pretty messy. So again, just my support for Mr. Riley's comments on this. And I think it would be a great idea to put some signage prohibiting that right-hand turn onto Brighton during commuting hours. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Alfredo. Have a good evening. Okay. Dylan, I think we might have, is there anyone else in the queue?
We have one more.
Okay, good. So we're gonna make this our last one because we are kind of past our time.
All right, Denise Lima, please
Good
unmute.
evening, Denise. Name and address for the record.
Hi, Denise Lima, 319 East Glen Ave. I wasn't going to talk about Glen Ave, but I would echo what was just said about the right-hand turn. I see that happen all the time since I live so close. There's a few items that are on the agenda that I wanted to talk about, and it was interesting that the theme for all of them, for me, was related to how we run the village and all about our operating model or the master plan. And I know the master plan was near and dear to many of us. It was important. We took our time with it. We spent about $500,000 to engage a consultant to help us navigate through the process. We surveyed hundreds of residents, spent countless hours reviewing and synthesizing data, had a few workshops, and I think we all thought it was, thoughtful and forward-looking. It was approved by everybody on the council here, and so to me, that's everything we do should be cross-checked to the master plan. So when I think about the master plan and I think about outcomes on section 9, page 60, it says, and I quote, "Move historic preservation from low to medium. It's intrinsic to the core principle of keeping a small town village feel." I don't know what progress has been made on moving the needle to medium, but I'd have to say, if you've looked at the Nationally Historic Vanderbilt House, number 83001564 on the corner of Maple and Prospect, it was recognized for the stone architecture. But now if you look at what the developers have done, they've covered 100% of the exterior and interior stone, even the foundation. They had an open house. It was, I would say it's irreversible. It's kind of failed the test of the word preservation. I also don't think that the look and feel of the police barriers and corrals that we're calling it kind of passed the Historic Preservation Committee, and I think what the master plan had in mind. Second is the general village-wide principles on section 1.2 on page 8. There's about 5 of them, but the last one I just want to talk about, it says, strive for better fiscal management, responsibility, and accountability. And then on page 56, it says fiscal taxes. And it actually says, i.e. reduce. So it seems like this year we're increasing our budget. I know the garage and the virus didn't help our revenues, but maybe we should think about or stop even spending so much money on new cars or trucks for every department. I mean, we even have in today's agenda $175 contract for parts, but if the majority of all these are new, they should be under warranty. I don't know where that money's going. There's also $51,000 for a vehicle lift, $80,000 for lawnmowers, and $250,000 for a rubber tire loader. I don't even know what that is. It just seems like we continually to spend. And I think, again, the master plan, our idea was that we weren't going to do this.
Denise, thank you. The time is up. Okay, we
Yep.
appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
Okay, very good.
I actually have 4 written comments, but I guess we'll wait till the end.
Why don't we just get them, let's clear them. Let's go ahead and do
Okay,
those.
I have 1 long written comment, so that will be at the end.
How long? It still gets 3 minutes, so we'll do it now.
Right. No, I'll do the one at the end because that's 5 minutes. So,
Okay.
Okay. So the first one is from Andrew Varady, 111 Sherwood Road. We wish to thank you for your decision at the previous town council meeting to remove the monitor who sat in a chair at the Ridgewood pickleball courts. This is an important first step in making sure that the mostly older senior citizens who play pickleball are treated the same as the mostly younger players who use the Ridgewood tennis courts. Since pickleball easily and conclusively passed the village sound test, it's essential that the next step is to make sure the pickleball courts are open the same days and hours as the village tennis courts, and that pickleball courts are left unlocked. This would eliminate age discrimination concerns and ensure the mostly older pickleball players are treated the same as the mostly younger tennis players. Please note that the month of May has been proclaimed by the president as Older Americans Month, with the purpose of celebrating the contributions older Americans make to communities such as Ridgewood. The Village of Ridgewood has previously recognized and celebrated Older Americans Month. Since pickleball enriches the physical, mental, and emotional well-being of Ridgewood's older residents, what better way to celebrate Older Americans Month than to declare at this meeting that the pickleball courts will now be open the same days and hours as the Ridgewood tennis courts. We therefore ask you, Mayor Newton, to make this important pickleball court decision tonight in recognition of the contribution Ridgewood's older residents make to our community. The next one is from Elaine Sigolini, 385 Gilbert Street. Stop the EMT idea, table it. This is not what the townspeople want. People are angry. The next one is from Alistair Linton, 425 Stevens Avenue. The proposed tax increase of 6.29% is unacceptable. I urge the council to cut costs as the tax burden is already past the breaking point. The proposed addition of 2 more firefighters is a poor use of village funds. Additionally, the removal of funding for the EMT is not the first area I would consider for reducing costs. The next one is from Linda McNamara, 575 Knickerbocker Road. Dear Mayor, council members, village manager, and village attorney, please reconsider the changes to the EMT program at this time. Issues have been rectified, and to alter a 40-year program so significantly without a public conversation and presentation is not in keeping with good government practices. The word transparent is somewhat overused in today's political climate, but it applies in this case. I've known so many young adults and others who have volunteered hours of their time to serve the community. I and many others are grateful for all they have done to ensure quality service and response time to our residents when we are at our most vulnerable. Help to improve it where it is necessary, but not by dismantling it.
Is that it? Was that it?
Yes.
Okay, good. So Heather, do you want to speak to
Yes.
the EMS?
Yeah, regarding the EMTs, due to operational and safety issues and concerns, and in order to improve services and response times, daytime ambulance response will now be covered by the fire department. EMS volunteers will continue to respond to ambulance calls on weeknights and all day and night on weekends, as they do at the present time. Volunteer EMS will continue to receive the funding and stipends currently in place. At this time, we are not at liberty to discuss the personnel and human resources issues related to this decision.
Councilwoman Reynolds, can you pick up on the issue of Bryden and that turn, bring it to CSAC? Is that something you can take care of? I don't know if you were copied on that email. You're muted.
Sorry. I don't, if an email came today, I didn't.
No, I'll forward it to you. I think Charlie may have only sent it to me.
Okay.
So I'll forward that to you. And if you don't mind just taking that to CSAC so that that gets handled. And the last thing I do have is the comment made about $500,000 to a consultant. That's grossly inaccurate. So it's not $500,000 to a consultant for the visioning process. And I also just want to point out that the historic home was actually scheduled to be torn down. It's private property and they could have ripped it down. And so to the extent that it may not look the way it should or did, it's still standing. And maybe that was half of at least the battle. So in any event, okay, with that, let's go to.
Mayor, may I respond to Bob Upton's comment?
Oh, sure. I'm sorry. Yeah, I actually, hang on one second, Bob Upton. Oh, because I was actually going to ask you to do that because we had something on there. Go ahead.
Since I was at the Green Ridgewood meeting and heard their concerns, we have added into the resolution that the balloons should preferably be reusable balloons. And the director of the Chamber of Commerce and I have been looking for low-cost reusable balloons.
Yeah, so I think, and I think it's a great point, Pam, thank you. I think that you found something that's better than what we have. So what that idea was, so it's really appreciated. And so with that, thank you. And we'll go on to reports, village manager's report first.
Sure. Glenwood Road construction, as you've heard, on or about May 15th, the Glenwood Road Hill will be closed to vehicular traffic while the New Jersey Department of Transportation and New Jersey Transit improve the railroad crossing at the Hohokus train station. The stairs to the train tracks will be accessible during the closure, and the pedestrian crossing at the middle of the train tracks will also be open. This closure will last for approximately 30 days, and then when Glenwood Road reopens, it is scheduled to be a one-way street down the hill. Late night voter registration for the primary election. The final date for voter registration for the June 8th primary election is May 18th. The village clerk's office will assist you with voter registration from 8:30 a.m. to 9:00 p.m. on that day at the customer service window to the left of the lobby doors of Village Hall. When you arrive during the day, please dial 201-670-5500, extension 205 or 206 for assistance. From 4:30 p.m. to 9 p.m., a village employee from the village clerk's office will be waiting by the customer service window to register you to vote. All new residents to Ridgewood, as well as anyone who has moved within Ridgewood and has not yet re-registered or registered to vote, have the opportunity to do so on May 18th. All village offices will be opening to the public on June 1st, 2021. Masks will be required in all village buildings and social distancing must be maintained. We respectfully request that you limit your in-person visits to village offices to doing business with village departments or attending a scheduled class, meeting, or events. For parking, all residential parking regulations are being enforced, and this includes no overnight parking on streets from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. 24-hour parking spaces are available in the train station lot and the Cottage Place lot for May through July 31st. The cost is $200 for this time period. Overnight parking in the Central Business District is open to all Ridgewood residents in the Hudson Street Garage, second floor, Prospect Street lot, Cottage Place lot, and the Woolsey Square lot next to the McMurphy's entrance. Overnight parking is allowed in these locations from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. The cost is $75 for 3 months or $150 for 6 months. If you have family or friends who live in other towns who wish to take the bus or train from Ridgewood, Ridgewood parking permits for commuters are available to non-residents for the rest of 2021 for the same price as residents are charged. Graden Pool membership is now open on Community Pass. The pool season runs from June 5th through September 6th, which is Labor Day. If you have any questions, please call the Recreation Department at 201-670-5560. On Saturday, June 5th, from 10:30 a.m. to 12 noon, older adults can come to celebrate Graden Pool and Park. You can enjoy a wrapped breakfast, live music, and learn all that Graden Pool and Park have to offer. Registration is required. Please email Deanna Shablik at dshablik@ridgewoodnj.net or call 201-670-5500, extension 301. The pedestrian mall, which we had last summer, that's where East Ridgewood Avenue is closed to vehicular traffic from Oak Street to Broad Street all day and night, Saturdays and Sundays, will take place from July 10th through September 5th. There will be dining and shopping areas on the street from our many eateries and businesses. In addition, there will be music and laughter in Memorial Park at Van Ness Square on Saturday nights, with comedy acts beginning at 7:30 p.m. and bands beginning at 8 p.m. There will also be other various performances throughout the pedestrian mall on Saturdays and Sundays. In addition, Music in the Night, sponsored by the Ridgewood Guild, will take place at various locations throughout the Central Business District on Friday nights, beginning May 21st through September. The Bergen County Utilities Authority Household Hazardous Waste Collection will be held on Saturday, May 15th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Bergen County Campbell Mountain Reservation, which is located at 200 Campbell Road in Mawa. They will collect aerosol cans, antifreeze, blacktop sealers, batteries, both vehicle and rechargeable, fire extinguishers, fluorescent bulbs, gasoline, herbicides, propane gas cylinders, both 1 pound and 20 pound, and used motor oil. Ridgewood Chamber of Commerce is holding their annual Sidewalk Sale days on May 13th, 14th, and 15th. If the weather is not favorable, sales will continue inside the stores. There will be great discounts for summer fun, gift items, and great prices. Plenty of parking in Ridgewood. Remember, the Hudson Street Garage is available for people to park. Stop for lunch or dinner and enjoy some delicious desserts and coffee along the way. Age-friendly Ridgewood offers events for Ridgewood's older residents in conjunction with the Ridgewood Library. You should go to the library's website, which is ridgewoodlibrary.org, to sign up for the following events. Elder Law will be held on May 19th at 7 to 8:30 p.m. And Medicare 101 for the baby boomers will be on June 1st, also from 7 to 8:30 p.m., and both will be held on Zoom. Village Council upcoming meetings are broadcast live. They're streamed on YouTube and also on our website. May 26th is the Village Council Public Works Session at 7:30 p.m. June 2nd is the Village Council Public Works Session, also at 7:30 p.m. And then June 9th is the Village Council Public Meeting at 8 p.m. That's all I have.
That's all you have. Thank you, Manager. Councilwoman Perrin, sorry, Pam's smiling, but she knows she's next. Go ahead, Pam.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Maylander, can I just point out that Labor Day is September 6th? That's the Monday. You had mentioned that the pedestrian mall would go through September 5th, and that would be the Sunday.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to go to Monday or not.
Okay.
We're going to have to talk about that.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. The Chamber of Commerce board members met this morning. They formed a subcommittee to address ways to help retailers develop more customers. And the conversation then turned to parking kiosks and how difficult it is for older customers to figure out how to pay. And so there was a question as whether there should be some sort of village concierge, and are there other solutions? So they formed another subcommittee to come up with alternatives that they would give to me to then present to the council. And they reported that, let's see, the chamber is working on organizing the car show, which is a wonderful annual event. And they do find that customers are now coming in and announcing that they're vaccinated. And people seem happier, seem to be in a better mood. However, they all notice that there's also a labor shortage. And for example, there is a major lifeguard shortage all across the nation. So there are still plenty of hurdles for our businesses. The president of the chamber reported that Feed the Frontlines, which is a major chamber initiative, has delivered about 70,000 meals by now. The grant, the $1 million grant, runs out at the end of this month, and they're looking to continue the program on a smaller basis so that they can deliver food to pantries around the county on a smaller scale, and that will be relying on donations. The installation of the chamber's new president will be on June 9th, and the new president will be Gary Colasaire. He's the owner of the Ridgewood Tobacco Shop, and many of you may have noticed him around town. He's the tall guy smoking a pipe. Green Ridgewood met last week. We are working on a dance project on the Dunham Trail that will be on June 11th. That's at 5:30 to 7 o'clock, I believe. There will be more publicity on that later. Other members are contemplating an electric vehicle car show in town. The subcommittee on renewable government energy aggregating, of which I'm a part, will be presenting to the League of Women Voters tomorrow. Earth Day. One of our members had a youth and community engagement committee of the United Nations Association of the for Northern New Jersey. They assembled segments from various Bergen County towns in a multimedia presentation, and that's how we marked Earth Day virtually. I'm going to leave the rest for Councilman Seaton. And except that we are also looking into community-supported agriculture, which is a CSA. You usually hear it referred to. There are a few around in other towns, and it's worth looking into. We also discussed the New Jersey Green Amendment to the state constitution. Those bills are pending in the Senate and Assembly. Open space has not met. However, with regard to the park walks that we are sponsoring in all of our open spaces, last weekend there was the first in the series of explorations of our open spaces, and that was at Citizens Park. We were co-sponsoring with Ridgewood Wildscape and the Ridgewood Wildscape Association and the Ridgewood Parks Department. It was a really pleasant event. There will be another one on Sunday, this Sunday, May 16th at Kings Pond at 1 o'clock. We will meet at the cul-de-sac McKinley. I don't know if that's street or road, but McKinley, which is a cul-de-sac off Mountain Avenue. Please wear long sleeves and long pants and bring a mask. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Reynolds?
Thank you, Mayor. Yesterday, a few of us attended a monster bin installation at, they installed it kind of between the library and the municipal building near the bike racks, like down below behind the building off the parking lot. And it's a green box, maybe 3 feet tall, 1.5 feet wide, and it looks like a monster, and it says, "Feed me," sort of like this. It's very cute. And it's for empty ink cartridges. And will make money for the month of May. We'll actually get $2 per ink cartridge, which is great. And the library already donated, I think it was like 40 cartridges yesterday. So we're on our way, and beyond May, it'll be $1 per cartridge. There will be 3 of these bins throughout town. That's one. There'll be one at the recycling center. And the third one, I'm not sure if it's a definite, but probably somewhere downtown, maybe around the post office. The library will have bags like this. This is a small one. And if you donate, I think 10 or more cartridges, you can go into the library and get a little bag. They have bigger bags also. They have keychains that are very cute. So go donate your empty ink cartridges. Oh, and this also will help us in our sustainability certification. Correct, Mike? I believe that's true.
Yeah, I believe so. I just have to go through, I'll talk about that when I get to it.
Okay, all right, good. Today, there was actually a grand reopening of Little Nest Portraits, which is at 168 East Ridgewood Avenue. It's a photography studio. They've been there for, I think, almost 5 years, but the photographers have actually bought the business now. So the photographers are running it, which is great. It's a cute little studio, and they're having some really fabulous sidewalk sale specials starting tomorrow. So everybody should go check it out. And Gary Cirillo from Village Landscaping and Project Pride will once again be beautifying Ridgewood with flowers throughout town. We're not positive of the date yet, but it's looking like it may be Sunday, May 23rd to do the plantings. And we're looking for volunteers. If you have any interest, please email me at lreynolds@ridgewoodnj.net. And we will hopefully be able to use you as volunteers. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Walsh?
Thank you, Mayor. So we had our joint Village of Ridgewood Board of Ed meeting, and the first thing we want to do is congratulate Jeffrey Nias, the new Ridgewood High School principal. We also want to just talk briefly about graduation. They are going to have graduation for the students. So far, it's going to be students on the field. They're still working out how they're going to be able to let family, I don't even want to say friends, I want to just say family, either on the bleachers or around the field, because they still have to follow safety protocols for COVID. So they want to be fair to all the families and loved ones. So they're trying to figure out how they're going to do that and stay within the protocols. The seniors are going to have a prom. That's going to be on June 4th. And they also are going to have a project graduation, a little bit different than prior years, but they are still going to be able to celebrate it. So that's great. We talked a little bit about the event that happened at the high school where there was an altercation, and the Ridgewood Police needed to get involved to disperse kids from the high school field. So they took some proactive action with regards to this, and they hired security. They are going to be locking the gates at Stevens Field. The idea is that they're going to try and keep, when there are not scheduled events happening, they're going to keep people from congregating in those areas. We talked about the lighting. So the light is on a timer. So while the lights may have been on that evening, there was no scheduled events on the field. So that's why the lights were on at that time. We also talked about the field policy a little bit, because if everybody remembers in prior reports, the orchard fields, because of the remediation that was done there, needed to be closed for the entire summer. So they won't be used until the fall. And unfortunately, everything that would have normally been scheduled at Orchard is now being scheduled all over the village on our other fields. So for the residents maybe near some of these fields that are seeing some extra activity there, it's because we are just trying to keep the kids out and doing activities. And as a result, maybe there's more activity on the fields for the short term. I think that's it. I think that's all we had for that. And then Parks and Rec, just a reminder, I think Heather already said, for everyone to get their Graydon memberships and to also look online to all the activities and things that you can join or do through Parks and Rec. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. So last week, Green Ridge, the Green Team also met, and the Green Team's really focused on the first deadline for our certification this year is June 6th. And we're pretty much just, I'm going to spend the weekend uploading the information that we have and going through the application once again. I've gone through it several times already, and then spend the next 2 weeks just requesting the rest of the information from the village manager, I guess, to go through various staff to just kind of button up everything we need to. It's a big project. There's, I think the application's about 400 pages, that includes resolutions and plans and all sorts of things to renew and make sure we're still accomplishing, and a few new things that we're gonna try to add in to make up for some of the points that we lost, since we don't have the methane generator at the water pollution control facility going, and the solar panels. That's a big chunk that's taken out. So the team is working hard to get everything together, and like I said, we're going to submit our first round in June 6th. So that's a monumental task. And then this week the Shade Tree Commission met, and it's time for us to start discussing another 5-year plan. So we got a grant to do our first 5-year plan with the Shade Tree Commission, and 2 notable goals that were included. And I think some of the members, when we were going through it, were surprised at how much the commission seemed to accomplish over 5 years. And 2 of the most notable accomplishments were completing most of the tree inventory, which we've talked about. And we see how valuable of a tool this is. And over the 5 years, we've planted over 1,000 trees in the village of Ridgewood. So as a Shade Tree Commission, we're thriving, and we're actually accomplishing the goals we're setting out to do. So again, we're probably going to go out for the same grant to see if we could get it for the next 5-year plan. We're hoping it's not going to be as costly as the first, because that was done from scratch. So there's probably a lot of boilerplate stuff that you could put in there and updates. And of course, we're going to have new goals. One being the addressing the emerald ash borer, which we've discussed here. And that's going to be that's a huge issue, and it's really going to be prevalent over the next 5 years, as a majority of ash trees come down, not only on village property, but private property. And the Shade Tree Commission is committed to getting information out and helping residents identify these trees to see if they choose to treat them or take them down, because once they do get ravaged by this insect, they get very brittle and they start to fall apart. They could shatter, and you can't get climbers in there to cut them down. And if you let them go too long, it could become real stressful and expensive task to undertake. So that's what the commission's doing. Also, there was a discussion about some of the things going on in the central business district. And I don't know where Councilwoman Perone is with the business improvement district, because some questions were asked of me about that. And the Shade Tree Commission offers its assistance if anything's going on with beautification or anything of that nature, simply focusing on the tree wells. Because if there's anything going on outside of that, that's the purview of other committees and other people's work. But the Shade Tree Commission has done a lot of work on the tree wells. So any kind of plan for the downtown or business improvement district that could help the commission along with getting some of these tree wells rehabbed would be greatly appreciated. And the commission and everybody is really there to help and offer guidance when it comes to tree wells. Everything else is, somebody else's task, but we're happy to help. American Legion Post 53, and some community volunteers. I think Project Interact at the high school. Councilwoman Walsh, Mayor Knutson, Congressman Josh Gottheimer, a bunch of people were there to put flags on the graves of veterans at Velu Cemetery. So it was a little chilly, a little soggy day, but everybody showed up. It was very well attended. There were lots of volunteers. So we got the flags out, and it was a really great event. And happy to see everybody there doing their part for veterans and for getting ready for Memorial Day. And I think that's all I have.
Okay, great. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So it wasn't a little chilly. It wasn't a little cold. It was bitter cold. And I just want to say that I appreciate everyone who came and helped. As always, Councilwoman Walsh is there with her family. My husband was there, Hunter was there, and I just actually have to say, we get these little sections of the cemetery. It's a map, and we put the flags at the marked grave sites, headstones. And I was in charge of reading the map, and my husband and the deputy mayor were placing the flags, and Hunter was kind of running around, but my map reading skills are not quite as refined as I thought they were. And so fortunately, Hunter was there to help. How old is he? 7? So it's all good. So Hunter was hugely helpful. Congressman Gottheimer was also in Ridgewood last week visiting the Ridgewood Water Car Facility. He took the opportunity to speak about the importance of available federal funding for the treatment of PFAS contaminants. We're grateful for his continued support. We submitted our grant application for federal funding, and each Congress member has an opportunity to advance 10, and then there's a second advancement. So we were in the round of the first 10 from Congressman Gottheimer, and now we're down to 3, I believe, is my understanding, that were advanced. And so we're hopeful. It would be really nice. And I think we had an opportunity also to look at the treatment facility with the congressman and Board of Ed members who came the other day. So it was really a wonderful opportunity for everyone to understand the importance of the treatment of PFAS contaminants. And thanks to our village manager and Rich Calby and all the folks at Ridgewood Water who were there to help. Monday evening, 3 fine young men became Eagle Scouts. And so this was really exciting. Congratulations to Alex Cho, Luke Wong, and Alex Vester. Councilwoman Perrin was with me that evening. So we had an opportunity to each speak and present certificates. We also had our firefighters were representing for the fire department, 2 of them. Each of these scouts completed service projects, and I think these service projects are so amazing. Alex Cho, a Ridgewood High School senior, refurbished a storage closet in his church to create a facility for foster parents to get donated clothing and other necessities for their foster children. And I believe that Susan Harrison is going to get me the information as to where people can donate, because it's a really great opportunity to help foster parents and maybe encourage others to do so. Luke Wong, also a senior at Ridgewood High School, built a portable storage for donated hockey equipment. Donated equipment is better for the environment, but also especially important, provides an opportunity for youngsters to participate who may not otherwise be able to if they can't afford the very expensive hockey equipment. Again, I'm going to get the information, so if anyone wants to donate, we can know where it is, and we'll post that on social media and elsewhere. Bergen Catholic senior Alex Vester installed cement stairs and a railing to provide access from McKinley Place down to Kings Pond Park. So the timing on this particular service project couldn't be better because it's given all the work and effort we've put as a village council to restore the magnificent Kings Pond Park. It's really a wonderful opportunity for the folks up on McKinley to get down and to really enjoy the space. So July 4th, representatives met last week with village officials to discuss parades, logistic requests, and additional details. Subsequently, the July 4th committee met Monday night after the Eagle Scouting. And we've been updated the website. So if you want to visit ridgewoodjuly4.net. So again, that's ridgewoodjuly4.net, the number 4, not spelled out, but the number. For updated parade information and to learn how you can support this year's parade. It's important to note that without fireworks is typically the revenue stream to support the parade. So there are no fireworks this year. It was very difficult to plan fireworks given the timing and not knowing what the social gathering guidelines would be. At this point in the program or in the process, we would have already booked with the fireworks people and been already funding that. So it's a little bit difficult to work with such time constraints. So again, if anyone wants to visit ridgewoodjuly4.net and learn more about the program. Tuesday morning, bright and early, the Bergen County mayors met. The meeting was an overview of the best security practices, an important and timely discussion for all, given the Colonial Pipeline issue right now. Is that what it's called? Colonial Pipeline? Okay. And also I know that, you know, a number, not just that, but email hacks and other things. I know my council colleagues have evidently received a number of emails from the fictitious fake me asking for help with something. I don't know what I need help with, but you know, there are security issues and everyone needs to take those seriously. So I'm going to bring some information back to the village manager, a little slide presentation and information about how best to secure our own information and technology. I'm going to follow up on the comments about downtown Ridgewood. It will be in full swing this summer with the pedestrian plaza, as we've already learned, returning in July. In advance of the July events, we will be kicking off this weekend with the Secret Garden Bruce Springsteen Tribute Band at Memorial Park at Van Ness Square. So that's Saturday night. It's really, really exciting. It's a great bunch of musicians. We also have almost a full band schedule for Van Ness with just, I believe, only 2 Saturdays left to fill. We're really excited and we're especially grateful to our favorite local musicians for the major lean-in and updated schedule we posted once we have it on village website and social media and elsewhere. I think Councilwoman Reynolds mentioned Little Ness portraits. I think it's actually, I want to say that Little Ness is beautiful. The studio is magnificent. The photography is second to none. And the chairs are really comfortable. And I think Councilwoman Perrin will point out the coffee was really good and hot. So we wish them all the best, great success, and encourage everyone. I think they're doing right now for the Sidewalk Sale, which is this weekend, they're doing a $25 session. It's $100 off the actual session. You can spin a wheel to get additional prizes. I'm not quite sure what the prizes were. And then of course, whatever packages you purchase, but at least the session is $100 off and you can spin and maybe win some really fun prizes. So stop by Little Ness Portrait Studio, say hello, sit in a chair, maybe get some coffee and have your photo taken with your kids. Just remember, whenever possible, please do shop local. You can shop, dine, print, polish, beautify locally. We have everything downtown Ridgewood. We have flowers, dancing, bagels, banking, fine dining, nuts, candy, ice cream, tableware, jewelry, fashion, anything you want, menswear, shoes, sneakers, cigars, everything. We have it in our Ridgewood Historic Central Business District. Our businesses need the support of our community. And I will tell you, I promise, when you shop Ridgewood, our businesses truly appreciate you. They appreciate that you stop in, say hello, and support them. So please shop Ridgewood, shop local, help support our businesses. And with that, I think that's all I have. And I guess we're going on back to our agenda.
Okay, so we have 2021 budget resolutions. The following resolutions, numbered 21-113 through 21-114, will be adopted on a consent agenda with one vote by the village council. It will be read by title only. Authorize 3-year revenue average for 2021 budget and approve amendment to 2021 budget. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Walsh,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes.
Resolution number 21-115 will be considered separately and read in full. Be it resolved by the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood, County of Bergen, that the budget hereinbefore set forth is hereby adopted and shall constitute an appropriation for the purposes stated of the sums therein set forth as appropriations and authorization of the amount of $35,475,199.75 for municipal purpose purposes, $291,302.48 for open space recreation farmland and historic preservation trust fund levy, and $2,256,745 for maintenance of the Free Public Library. Summary of revenues: general revenues, surplus anticipated $4 million. Miscellaneous revenues anticipated $10,361,507.50. Receipts from delinquent taxes, $775,000. Minimum library tax, $2,256,745. Amount to be raised by taxation for municipal purposes, $35,475,199.75. Total revenues, $52,868,452.25. Summary of appropriations: general appropriations. Within caps, operations including contingent, $41,193,976.73. Operations, total operation excluded from caps, $3,404,112. Capital improvements, $475,000. Municipal debt service, $6,450,363.52. Deferred charges, municipal, $115,000. Reserve for uncollected taxes, $1,230,000, for total appropriations of $50,967,675.96. It is hereby certified that the within budget is a true copy of the budget finally adopted by resolution of the governing body on the 12th day of May, 2021. It is further certified that each item of revenue and appropriation is set forth in the same amount and by the same title as appeared in the 2021 approved budget, and all amendments thereto, if any, which have been previously approved by the Director of Local Government Services. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Perrin?
I have to say that developing the budget is the most important thing that this council does. How your taxes are spent is something we take very seriously. It's not easy. This is the original binder for the operating budget. There's another similar binder for the capital budget. It's not easy. It is fascinating, but it's not easy. We are aided in this budgeting process by the department heads who spend a lot of time figuring out what they can cut, what they absolutely need, and how to keep services coming to you, the taxpayers. The CFO and the village manager similarly spend hours and hours on this process, explaining to us, the council members, and to you, the public. They the village has agreed to painful cuts while trying to still maintain all the services that you're used to. But I gather from all the emails that we have received and the comments from the public that we have not explained the budget sufficiently. Yes, our budget meetings are open to the public and in that sense, transparent. But if you just listened to the resolution that the village manager just read, how much of it could you take in? Not much without the documents in front of you. And in the old days before COVID, these binders were in the courtroom and people could look at them. So COVID has exacerbated the problem of the public's not understanding the budget that is being discussed. I too have needed more information. Regarding the hiring of firefighters and police officers, I never received a memorandum justifying their hiring. Yes, I got something orally, but it's hard to take in. I need a document. I need something in writing. In order to do my job thoroughly, I would also need a written statement of cost comparisons before terminating EMTs and hiring firefighters instead. It's hard for me to conceive of how per diems at $21 an hour with no benefits could be the equivalent of 2 firefighters who start at $38,000, but also increase rapidly to 6-figure incomes with pension benefits, stipends, etc., and whose careers last decades. Oral explanations here have just not been enough for me. I need something I can refer to and read again and again in order to take it in. Yes, I've heard that we need these public safety people for the multifamily housings that are coming in. But what's the yardstick? What's the standard? Such documents would inform my decision. They would be deliberative documents, as I understand it, and protected from Oprah disclosure. So they wouldn't be available to the public, but at least I would have them. I can understand that personnel matters have to remain confidential, and therefore the public is rather frustrated in their attempts to understand what's going on. I don't know what the answer is there, but we need to do better in terms of educating the public. The emails that we've gotten signify that we haven't succeeded in educating the public. And because we have communicated in a way that isn't the best, I have to vote against this budget.
Okay, Reynolds?
I'll just add that the department's heads and the departments, I want to thank everybody for getting down to the bare bones. I mean, you cut your budget once, you cut it again. Bob Rooney went to you and said, we still need more cuts, and you kept cutting. And I appreciate all of that. I think we are down to the bare bones. It is a high percentage, but I think it's from years of 0 taxes and very low taxes and COVID all at once. It's catching up to us. It's, I'm not happy about it, but I think we've done our best, and I vote yes.
Seaton?
I'd like to also thank the department heads and CFO Bob Rooney, Treasurer Steve Sanzari, and Heather Maylander, Village Manager, council colleagues, everybody involved in the process. It's a long and arduous process. It starts before, long before it comes to the council, with lots of meetings with department heads. So the past few years, there's been low tax increases. There's been some with no tax increases. And they were a little bit easier. That sometimes things happen. You have to make difficult decisions in budgeting processes. You have to change the way services are delivered. Sometimes you have to eliminate some services. I know Councilwoman Walsh has brought it up at meetings. I have brought it up at meetings. And, at the next meeting, our next meeting in June, we need to start talking about, or our next meeting at the end of this month, we need to start talking about ways to change services, the things that maybe we just can't afford to do anymore. Otherwise, we're going to be in the unenviable position next year saying, well, now it's too late to really change anything to impact this year's budget. And we're looking at massive tax increases. So it's a challenge that I'd like to issue, because it's incredibly important. This is the most important thing we do. It's what we do with the taxpayers' money. Is we take your money and we fund functions. We fund the village. We offer services. We buy equipment so that we can maintain our properties. And again, there are just things that we're not going to be able to do the same way going forward. This year was difficult. I don't see next year being any easier. So I'd like to see some of these issues we really, really thought out and brought to the council for some decisions, and they're going to be difficult decisions. And nobody's happy with higher taxes, and nobody's happy when services are cut. But you have to make a decision. You have to either jack taxes way up to continue to offer services the way they've been offered. I mean, inflation's creeping in, the expenses are going up. People see it in their own lives. We see it as a municipality. We see it as a country on every level. So these things are happening. They're real, and we're going to have to deal with them. And, you can't be everybody's friend all the time, and you can't make decisions that you have to make difficult decisions. And this is a difficult decision. It's not a tax increase that I'm happy with. There are changes to services that I'm not happy with, but I'm voting in favor of this budget. And I'd like to issue the challenge to come up with some really difficult decisions in the meetings to come. And we're going to have to do it over the summer months. I know people go on vacation, things slow down in the summer, but we really have to have a slate of decisions ready to go in December or January. And I don't think we could take the summer off on this and wait until September or October when we feel that more people are watching. There are many difficult decisions that we're going to have to make for next year's budget, and we need to start now. So I vote yes.
Okay, Walsh.
So yes, thank you, Heather. Thank you to your entire team, Bob Rooney, the staff, the department heads, everybody that works for the village, because I'm sure every single person that is an employee was part of this process, just in the daily work that they do. So yeah, I'm thankful and grateful that they're all part of the process. So from the beginning, I was, concerned about this tax increase, and was vocal all along that I just didn't feel comfortable. I know that there's a couple of things that I had concerns with, that I still have concerns with. And you can see it just in the paperwork that we just went through with the parking utility. Just on this, year over year, we have a $735,000 loss in the parking utility. I anticipate that to be the same or more. And I wish we could have just simply, somehow worked on that. And yeah, the deputy mayor is correct. How do we put the brakes on everything when the residents are demanding services? So you can't have it both ways, I guess, is the challenge for us. Mm-hmm. We are, unfortunately, there's some privileged information that we can't discuss with regards to the emergency services. That's another challenge for me with this budget, because the public really is missing some information. And I think if they had the information, that they perhaps would understand or understand the conversation. But I too think that when we were presented with the information, it did not include the benefits. I specifically asked for that information. It was just the estimate on the half-year salary for the two of them, didn't include the benefits. So that's something that I believe was left out of the budget. So I have a concern with that. I guess the silver lining or the Hail Mary for us might be some of the revenue that we're going to get in the last quarter for the apartment complex, certainly the Dayton and hopefully the Benjamin. So what I'm hoping is that, some of those revenues that come in can balance some of the other costs, fees for inspections, things like that we haven't been able to get this year. But I too am uncomfortable with the budget, and I'm going to be voting no.
Okay. And Newton.
So first, I'm going to thank the village manager, our CFO, and all of the departments for working so hard on this. I find it fascinating that a council member sat here and said they didn't have enough information on the budget to vote on it, and then they voted. They either had not enough information one way or the other, but if you didn't have enough information, perhaps an abstention would have been more suitable as opposed to voting, because when you vote one way, you made a decision to vote. So I find that like a little fascinating. because it's our job to have the information to make an informed vote. I agree with Councilwoman Walsh that we have confidential information that we can't share with the public. The village manager made a statement at the beginning. That's our hands are tied. But this is, as far as the EMTs go, a serious public safety issue that needs to be addressed. When somebody called in earlier today and said that we had a conversation on the phone, and I said, I want an ambulance to arrive when, if God forbid, my 85-year-old mother needs an ambulance, I want the ambulance to arrive. This is a serious public safety issue. And again, we are not at liberty to discuss that confidential information. In terms of services, you know, it's a balance. There is a balance here. We have residents that demand services. We have an elderly population that needs those services. So we are striking a balance. It is a tough decision, especially since we worked so hard in previous years to have 1.2%, 1.4%, 1.6%. You know, we've worked so hard to keep our budgets, those increases low, but this is an unusual year. And even though it is a 4.3% and it's there, it actually balances itself out over future years if you continue then down the trajectory of lower increases. So it will be felt this year. We have federal money. We're hopeful that that will be available soon. We know that we have the apartment buildings coming online. There's tax revenue there. In terms of going back to the fire department and what we may or may not have had information, again, this is a public safety issue. I don't know that we put a price on public safety, but of course we have to be cognizant of the costs. But I do recall that those numbers were discussed, and Bob Rooney is welcome to correct me if I'm wrong, but I do recall that there was a very specific discussion about the information and about the cost. But again, the question is, this is a public safety issue, and whether or not you put a price tag on ensuring that people have, you know, their needs met in an emergency. So it is difficult, and it's a difficult but necessary evil, and I'm in support of the budget. I'm voting yes. And once again, I thank everyone for working so hard on this budget. You know, before I finish, I want to say in terms of the increase, you know, there was an opportunity to temper the increase by just simply suspending the open space tax for either 6 months or a year. There were options there to kind of lessen that burden, at least for the year. But there was a desire on the part of this village council. I know that there was discussion at meetings and other meetings, committee meetings, to not do that. So that was an opportunity. It's still an opportunity if council members feel strongly that this is too much of a burden to be shouldered by our community. That's still an option. The option is always there. It's a simple resolution, and that changes this tax rate, at least for the year, down from 4.3%. I think, Bob Rooney, we said to about a 3% increase. And for that year, and when you make up the difference on the following year and have that federal money come in, I think that then it becomes less burdensome. So those are always options. They were always there. Again, and Deputy Mayor said something just a few moments ago that resonates with me. These are difficult decisions. It's not, you know, they are difficult decisions, and sometimes you have to vote and not make the popular decision. You have to make the hard decisions. And so I guess 3 of us here tonight will make that hard decision, and I'll stand with the Deputy Mayor and Councilwoman Reynolds and vote yes. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Now we'll go on to ordinances for Ridgewood Water.
Okay, hang on 1 second. Are we on 3861?
Correct.
Good. I move the first reading of ordinance 3861.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Eden,
Yes.
Walsh,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yeah, so ordered. Will the clerk please read ordinance 3861 by title?
An ordinance to amend chapter 145 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood fees as section 145-6, enumeration of fees relating to code chapters.
I move that ordinance 3861 be adopted on first reading and that June 9th, 2021 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Eden,
Yes.
Walsh,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes.
There are no public hearings on Ridgewood Water ordinances, resolutions. The following resolutions, number 21-116 through 21-119, will be adopted by a consent agenda with one vote by the village council. They will be read by title only. Title 59 approval, water billing and data collection processing services. Award contract, water billing and data collection processing services. Or contract under state contract maintenance of chlorine, pH, and phosphate analyzers. Or contract under state contract lead analyzer. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Eden,
Yes.
Walsh,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes.
Resolution number 21-120 will be considered separately and read in full. Whereas Ridgewood Water has a need for a new facility and improvements recommendations will be made to the property at 111 North Maple Avenue. And whereas on April 15th, 2021, 4 bids were received and publicly read. And whereas Adama Brothers Construction was identified as the lowest responsive and responsible bidder and meets all of the requirements of the bid specifications, complies with the requirements of NJSA 10:5-31 et sec and NJSA 17:27 et sec. Now therefore be it resolved by the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood that the total bid for the provision of the Ridgewood Water new facility be and is hereby awarded to the lowest responsible bidder, Adama Brothers Construction, 1033 Alexander Avenue, Ridgefield, New Jersey, in the total amount not to exceed $2,363,400. And be it further resolved that the Chief Financial Officer has certified the funds are available in the following water capital budget account numbers: W-06-55-594-712, $226,000, W-06-55-600-136, $1,900,000, W-06-55-591-700, $200,000, and W-06-55-599-735, $37,400. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Walsh,
No.
and Newton.
Yes. Okay, I move the first reading of ordinance 3862.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Walsh,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes. So order the clerk, please read ordinance 3862 by title.
An ordinance prohibiting the operation of any class of cannabis businesses within its geographical boundaries and amending Article 4, Section 244-13, tobacco, cannabis, and electronic vapor substance inhalation shops of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood.
I move that ordinance 3862 be adopted on first reading and that June 9th, 2021 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Eden,
Yes.
Walsh,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes, I move the clerk read ordinance 3860 by title on second reading and the public hearing thereon be open.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Eden,
Yes.
Walsh,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes, will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 3860?
Village of Ridgewood Small Cell Wireless Ordinance, an ordinance to provide for the amendment of the revised general ordinances of the Village of Ridgewood with the addition of a new chapter entitled Telecommunications Facilities in the Public Right of Way.
The public hearing is now open.
Anybody wishing to make comment, please raise your hand. I'm showing none.
I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Erin, close
Um,
the public hearing.
yeah, we're just closing the public hearing,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Whedon,
Yes.
Walsh,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes.
I move that ordinance 3860 be adopted on second reading and final publication as required by law.
Second.
Erin,
I am reluctantly going to vote yes on this ordinance. I feel like we're getting kind of railroaded on it because the federal statute, the Telecommunications Act, makes it unlawful for a local government to prohibit or to have the effect of prohibiting provisions of personal wireless service. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals heard a case in which a village tried to avoid having 5G installed and found against the village. I don't want to incur unnecessary or fruitless litigation, but this new telecommunications is going to be all over our village, and to the extent that we want to keep a small, quaint village, we're going to have these boxes and antennas all over the place. And the equipment can go higher than the existing telephone poles by 110%. What is that going to look like on Hope Street and on Maple Avenue? It looks like, as I read this 30-page ordinance, that the poles will have a maximum height of 50 or 55 feet, but can go higher. And they might be 150, these poles might be 150 feet apart, but they're planning to put in an estimated additional 100 poles. Yes, it is supposed to increase our capacity and we will have fewer dropped calls, and maybe this will make a difference in public safety. I hope it makes a difference in our website. I just don't feel that we have enough on the effects of radio frequency on our health. There is something in here that they have to abide by the FCC's health measures. I don't think of this FCC as a health-related organization. I'd rather hear from the National Institute of Health. But we don't really have a choice here, so I'm voting yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Walsh,
You know, I'll reluctantly vote yes too. I just hope that when the time comes for the county roads that intersect Ridgewood will have a little bit of say in what happens along the county roads. Yes.
and Newton.
So I'm voting yes because I understand the requirement to protect the village to the extent possible with the knowledge that this is permissible. We don't have much of a say. The only say, and Matt Rogers can weigh in unless I'm wrong, but the only say we can have is that we have some control over how they're placed, but no control over the actual placement. So I think, Matt, if you want to weigh in on this, but I'm going to vote yes first. Let me get that out of the way. But I think, Matt, it's really important. We've have these conversations all the time, having been on the Board of Adjustment. I get what this is. I think it's necessary, but I think it's really important that just so the people understand that they're not getting a 150-foot pole and what this actually means, because I think that's a frightening concept.
Yeah, we have limited jurisdiction and an ability to legislate on how these poles are put in and what they're for. And, the Federal Communications Act really pretty much takes care of it. We've dealt with it on other issues before this. We dealt with it with the solar panel items that were put on the poles going back about 5-6 years ago. We dealt with it after Sandy, I think, with PSE&G and the poles that they wanted to put on. We thought we had even a better suggestion of where to put it for them, but they didn't want to do it, so they didn't have to do it. So there's as Councilwoman Perrin said, there's case law that really identifies the limited aspect of the authority of a municipality in a situation like this. And it is one of those things where there is kind of a higher authority on this than what we have, and we just can't break through it. Even on the issue of health and the frequency issues, there may be information out there. There may be articles about the health impact of the frequencies and the level of the frequencies, but it's never been recognized as an issue that would trump or at least change the outlook that the Federal Communications Act has with regard to the placement of poles and the items that they put on them. So it's kind of a defeating type feeling you get when you get caught with one of these things, but every town is going to be dealing with it, and it is limited in terms of what we can do.
So this just protects us to the extent that we can protect ourselves, but I don't want anybody thinking they're getting 150-foot tall pole.
No, they're 150
50 feet apart.
Oh, I'm sorry.
150
No,
feet apart,
I'm
not
sorry.
150 feet.
Okay, apologies. Okay. Okay. I move the clerk read ordinance 3856 by title on third reading at the public hearing thereon be open.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Eden,
Yes.
Walsh,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes, will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 3856?
An ordinance to amend chapter 265 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood, Vehicles and Traffic at section 265-54, Schedule 3, one-way streets.
And the public hearing on ordinance 3856 was continued from April 14th, 2021. Public meeting to this evening's meeting. The public hearing is now continued.
Right, I have one.
Great.
Boyd Loving, please unmute.
Good evening. Name and address.
Good evening, Boyd Loving, 342. Good evening, Boyd Loving, 342 South Irving Street. I spoke at the last public hearing about this ordinance. Believe the ordinance was carried because the council indicated they were going to receive additional information or felt that they were going to receive additional help in trying to, quote, fight, unquote, this. You've said nothing tonight other than you've opened up the public hearing. So why did we wait from the last time there was a public hearing to now? What has happened in the interim, or has nothing happened? May I ask that question?
Sure, Boyd. So actually, I was actually going to add this to when I voted, but I'm happy to do so now. I'm good with it. Commissioner Hache and I are continuing to work with both the county and state officials. We met with them. I believe we have another meeting scheduled. We're compiling information to try to work on this. We are going to vote on this tonight, and I'm going to vote affirmatively because we do have a standing order. And so we don't want to be in a situation where the DOT comes in and says, okay, we're just going to shut this down completely because you're in non-compliance. They could finish their work. They're going to do their construction work. That's going to probably end sometime, I guess, presumably about mid-late June. And if we wait on this until our public meeting in June, and then we have a 20-day ordinance to become effective, I don't want to be outside of our window of opportunity and have somebody do something that actually does further exacerbates this issue. So I think we can do this now as Commissioner Hache and I continue to work through this, through these details. So it'll go one way, and we'll be hopeful that we can resolve it at a later date. The one thing I will say, and the village manager was present during our pre-construction meeting. The one thing that was asked was, there's nothing that they're doing on the crossing that would prevent this from continuing as a two-way road, other than they don't want it to be a two-way road because they, have some documentation or experience with that. So there's nothing they're doing that would prevent it from continuing as a two-way. It's just that standing order. So we're hopeful that if we work through the details on this and work with state and county has to weigh in on it. As we heard, Charlie Riley called in because there are other issues that are going to happen as a result of this that would, perhaps pose other dangers to folks. So we're going to just do this so we're in compliance based on the timing, and as he and I continue to work with this. So does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. And thank you very much. And you recall my comment from the last meeting was that if you did not take any action, my concern was that the state was just going to shut the crossing down completely. So I'm happy to hear that you are going to take some action tonight, even if the intent is possibly to reverse that action at a later date. Thank you.
And I think, Boyd, that's exactly the point. We didn't want to be outside of the order and they come in and just, people don't understand that they can come in and just prevent anyone from crossing over the tracks and thus change, just making it no passage, and then we have nothing. So we're at least going to do this so we're in compliance and work from there. Okay. Anyone else, Dylan?
Showing no others.
Okay. I lost my place. Okay, I think we're closing the public hearing.
Yeah.
I move the public hearing be closed.
Second,
Perrin,
yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Eden,
Yes.
Walsh,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes.
I move that ordinance 3856 be adopted on third reading and final publication as required by law.
I second the motion.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Eden,
Yes.
Walsh,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes.
The following resolutions, number 21-121 through 21-140, will be adopted on a consent agenda with one vote by the village council. They will be read by title only. Award contract, systemic insecticide injections, emerald ash borer. Title 59 approval, horticultural supplies. Award contract, horticultural supplies. Award contract under state contract, parts, materials, and supplies, fleet services. Award contract under Educational Services Commission of New Jersey, cooperative pricing system contract, 72-inch ground master mower, Parks and Recreation. Award contract under Educational Services Commission of New Jersey, cooperative pricing contract, Toro Sampro 5040. Award contract under Educational Services Commission of New Jersey, cooperative pricing contract, Toro 52-inch multi-force mower, Parks and Recreation. Award contract under Educational Services Commission of New Jersey, cooperative pricing contract, vehicle lift system fleet services. Award contract under Sourcewell cooperative purchasing contract, rubber tire front end loader. Award professional services contract, professional architectural and historic preservation services for interior rehabilitation of Zabriskie Shedler House. Extend time frame for grab and go parking spaces. Endorse library grant application, New Jersey Library Construction Bond Act. Authorize execution of Bergen County Open Space Trust Fund Project Contract, Kings Pond Park Development Phase 3. Authorize execution of Bergen County Historic Preservation Trust Fund Project Contract, Zabriskie Shedler House Phase 2. Authorize mailing of estimated 2021 third quarter tax bills. Authorize application for and accept grant funding from Bergen County Municipal Alliance Grant July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022. Suspend enforcement of displaying balloons in the Central Business District. Extend use of dining corrals in Central Business District. Endorse submission of recycling tonnage grant and confirm endorsement of Community Development Block Grant, Share Inc., various improvements, Share House at 130 Prospect Street. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Eden,
Yes.
Walsh,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes.
I have one additional resolution, number 21-141, which will be read in full. Whereas on or about August 24th, 2020, the Village of Ridgewood was sued in litigation known as Robert Furman et al. Versus Heather Maylander, docket number BER-L-4906-20 in the Superior Court of New Jersey, Bergen County, Vicinage. This litigation involved an action to require a petition to have a public question submitted to the voters of the Village of Ridgewood on the November 3rd, 2020 general election ballot. Whereas on September 2nd, 2020, Superior Court Judge Estela de la Cruz decided the case in favor of the plaintiffs. And whereas the decision of September 2nd, 2020 was taken under appeal by the Village of Ridgewood, the matter was heard in and affirmed by the Appellate Division, which issued its decision on or about March 9th, 2021. Whereas thereafter, Plaintiffs' Counsel filed a motion in certification requesting the award of attorney's fees and costs in the amount of $24,547. The Appellate Division considered the application and awarded fees to the plaintiff in the amount of $20,000, ordering the defendants to pay same. The village attorney reviewed the order awarding the fees and did not find any challengeable issue. Now therefore be it resolved by the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, that the village shall pay to the law firm of Jardim, Meissner, and Susser, PC, of Florham Park, New Jersey, the sum of $20,000. I have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Walsh,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes. Okay, with that, we're going back to comments from the public. Not to exceed 5 minutes per person.
All right, first person is Scarpa. Please unmute.
I am muted.
Oh.
Is this comments just by what resolution you read, or is it for everything?
No, for the meeting, for the, it's public comment, Linda.
And this is for the entire meeting this evening, correct?
Correct. Yes,
So
this is
like
public comment.
Yes.
Or anything else.
Or
For
anything
anything
right.
else. Okay,
Right.
I would like to make a statement. So you honored the EMT tonight, and then you clearly defunded them. You, the elected officials who voted yes, Reynolds, Sidon, Mailander, and Knudsen. Tonight you defunded the EMT and did not listen to the village via calls, emails, and the press. You couldn't think beyond the self-servants to table that budget for the sake of honesty and transparency when you had nothing to prove other than showing what you thought was right via the appropriate labor studies and finance studies and safety. You did nothing. You did not prove your point. You cared nothing about our needs in tax payments and safety. You, who voted yes, will carry the responsibility that the village may very well suffer during a pandemic and beyond, when the fire department will not meet the calls of the EMT fire at the same time during the day. You will carry the responsibility where the community service, what the EMT did during the day, fill the vial, do public service to the schools, will be gone. It's a complete disgrace. The village manager clearly said to defund the EMT twice on February 21st, 2020, and give the funding to the village, to the Ridgewood Fire Department. Tonight, she flatly stated she's funding the EMT. Not true. I have the exact times she said it twice. They will not be paid 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Monday through Friday and weekends, day and night. You all completely ditched the community service that the EMT does, and that will vanish. And we were lied to, the village. It was also Heather who started to demolish the EMT.
Linda, I'm going to call a point of order. Can you just keep your comments just general, okay?
I'm going to keep them. I'm going to keep it general, but I have a First Amendment right, and I will use a letter to refer to somebody because all this is truthful. Okay, all of it. You refuse to listen to Ryan, the coordinator of the EMT, and only listen to fire chief to fund the department even more at the taxpayer, even though the fire chief clearly indicated in the YouTube video he may not be able to handle the calls and has to borrow from other towns. Your yes vote cost the taxpayer more with paid firefighters for years and less with low-paying EMT. Tonight, Mayor, you said that Rooney was clear on how much a firefighter would cost. I saw that. No, he wasn't. On that February 2021 meeting, he stated 2 firefighters cost $37,000 plus bennies. That's not clear. And yes, this is in a YouTube tape. Perrin and Walsh got it right. Lastly, what's ignored is the disruption that's been created throughout the community between fire, police, and EMT. Why? Because you did not care to talk to the village at all. Zero response to the many emails I sent you, the calls, and every time I spoke. Your yes votes with zero justification will result in more taxes, less first responders, less safety, and all of you who voted will be responsible for pushing this dangerous, unproven idea to the village, who clearly disapproved for so many things they said to you tonight, even on Facebook posts and even through the press. And the lawsuits which may follow, you will also be responsible for. Come election time, we will remember. You are not entitled to make these rules without input from the village. I am furious, and many of the village people are extremely angry at this. And if there's a way that you can walk this back, I highly encourage you to do so, because you're going down the wrong path. I'm finished talking now.
Okay, thank you. Have a good evening.
Next person is Siobhan Winograd. Please unmute.
Hi, Siobhan Cram, Winograd, 274 Ivy Place. So in the most honest way, I'm wondering if the council could address after I speak, what's the best way to get in touch with you? I've come to public comment repeatedly. I've been honest and accessible. It's not easy. I have 2 kids. I participated in earlier in today, I asked specifically, and maybe I talked too much and sorry about that, why the slow walk on Health Barn? Why do we take public comment, close public comment, and leave people without any tactile answer, which makes us go to subcommittee meetings, talk to people, leave you in the unfortunate position when other people watch it, say, what did they say to you? And it's very bizarre to me because my original question was, why is Health Barn taking so long now? Why did we leave the public with a very distinct feeling this was happening quickly? And why in 2015 were we able to, in 45 days, issue 2 RFPs for the same property? Apologies, I don't mean to be super rude. I know you guys are serving and I appreciate your time, but I'm frustrated because, you know, I feel that I have the right to be vocal and ask questions. I feel that I continue to email you. I've emailed all of you, and some of you have never even emailed me back. I've been so concerned about it. I've actually emailed you and said, could you check and make sure everybody's getting my emails? So I think in addition to my why the slow walk on Health Barn RFP, my second question is, how do you want people, your constituents, to communicate with you? I mean, I've come to meetings, I've gone to subcommittee meetings, and I find myself being very direct with my questions, and I know I have a lot of them, and getting no answers. With respect to the budget, I want to say that I think the EMTs have been very vocal, but the idea that our budget is completely that is not the complete problem. I've attended all the budget meetings, and again, I have written emails since February. My first request to you, given COVID, was a request for information, and I was told to Oprah it, which I replied back, I'm not going to do that because the Oprah costs the village more money. You know, from the very beginning, the documents that were requested have not been provided. And by the way, every document that I wanted was provided by the state. Here you go, Mrs. Winograd, no problem. I think it's incredibly important to understand that EMT is part of this discussion, but it's not the discussion. The discussion is that we all, the public, you guys, everybody needs to be looking at the same set of information. Earlier tonight, when the vote occurred, the subject of open space was brought up. And there we go back to another email, another question about numbers. Last year, the open space number was $291,000. Okay, it's listed as $291,000. During the budget discussion with the elimination, it increased by 20% to $350,000. No amount of math can make that add up. We didn't have property valuations increase. When I asked that question, the answer that was given to me still didn't add up. Added to that, we just can't get an answer. We can't get questions answered about basic math. So look, I appreciate your service. I know you guys get hammered with a lot of things, a lot of questions, but we deserve an answer and we deserve a process to come and participate. And that doesn't mean closing our comment and saying something that makes people disincentivized to come here. So I'm hoping when the public comment is closed, someone can address my original question from 2 hours ago as to the slow walk of the RFP regarding the Habernickel property. What's the best way to communicate with you that doesn't frustrate us as citizens and add to these enormous meetings? And third, when there's a question about math, who's going to provide the answer? Because math is math, it doesn't lie. And even had it been $350,000, that still doesn't take us from 4.3% to 3%. Just doesn't add up. So again, appreciate your service. You guys are champions. It's 10:30 for you too, and I really appreciate the time, but I would really welcome a response.
Okay, thank you, Siobhan. I will get back to you on that tonight, actually. I will respond, so just hang in there. Who's up next, Dylan?
Anybody else wishing to make comment, please raise your hand. I am showing no others.
Okay,
I
Heather, you want to read yours?
Yeah, one written.
Okay, we're going to
comment.
close public comment on the phone. Go ahead.
Okay, it's from James Norton of 133 North Pleasant Avenue. Dear Mayor and council members, I have lived in the village for the past 33 years, raising 3 children who were active in many of the village's recreation programs, as well as club and school sports. During this time, the village showed extraordinary support for the recreational activities of its citizens, both children and adults, encouraging all to take their health and well-being seriously. To my mind, the village's willingness to install 4 pickleball courts on the site of the little, if ever used, tennis courts at Glen School was another example of the village's encouraging its citizens to be healthy. With the arrival of the COVID-19 pandemic, the village's construction of the pickleball courts almost seems prophetic. It has given many residents an opportunity for an outdoor social experience, which has been good for both mind and body. Based on the number of people playing last year and the tremendous enthusiasm I saw in these players, the village would have been hard-pressed to find a better use of our tax dollars in late 2019 than building the best pickleball facility in Bergen County at Glen School. With the advent of warmer weather, I've been looking forward to playing in the evenings, outdoors in the fresh air, renewing my acquaintance with my pickleball friends and neighbors, and continuing the benefits I've received from this activity, both mentally and physically. Now, however, I find that the village has decided to put major restrictions on how much pickleball can be played in town, when it can be played, and who can play. Basically, restricting access to the sport by eliminating all evening play for working residents like me and forcing us to play on weekends with even more stringent time limits than the weekdays the courts are open. I work normal hours, 5 days per week, and therefore do not have the opportunity to play at Glen School during the week between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. I am limited to playing on weekends between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. on Saturday and between 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. on Sundays. I'd like to provide some perspective on exactly what those hours mean and how they relate to Ridgewood's other racket sport, tennis. Number of hours, play hours on one court per week, May through August. Tennis has 84, pickleball has 33. Number of play hours per court weekdays after 5 p.m., May to August. Tennis has 15, pickleball has 0. Number of play hours per court weekends, May to August. Tennis has 24, pickleball has 12. On a per court basis, weekly pickleball court availability is slightly less than 40% of tennis court availability. When you factor in the difference in the numbers of pickleball and tennis courts, 4 and 12 respectively, you'll find the tennis court availability on a weekly basis is 7.5 times greater than pickleball court availability. A similar comparison shows that tennis court availability outside normal working hours is 10 times greater than pickleball court availability. I don't have the data on the number of tennis and pickleball badges sold so far this year to make a final assessment of the disparity in court availability on a per player basis, but for talking purposes, suppose there were 2 times more tennis players than pickleball players. In this case, the disparity in player court availability would be 3.75, 1 overall, and 5-1 outside normal working hours. These disparities are a direct result of the Village Council's decision to promulgate and pass Ordinance 3853 on March 24th. It is not clear to me that the council has adequately considered the needs of working residents or the disparity in court availability caused by passing Ordinance 3853. Reopening the Four Glen School pickleball courts for play on the same schedule as tennis would immediately increase play availability for working residents and reduce the disparity from 7.5-1 to 3-1 on a per court basis and 1.5-1 on a player basis, assuming twice the number of tennis players as pickleball players. As other options, such as construction of new pickleball courts or marking tennis courts for dual use, will take time to implement, I'm requesting immediate suspension of Ordinance 3853 until such time as the Village Council can reassess the situation and implement a more equitable solution for all stakeholders.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay, great. So just in terms of how to get in touch with us and the assertion that nobody gets back, I'm only going to speak for myself. So I'm going to dial it back and take a step back to February. I think Ms. Winograd emailed all of us and asked us some questions about SHPO and Shedler. And I emailed twice a lengthy response and called her and spent I think half an hour on the phone, only to read on Facebook that I never got back to her or no one got back to her, which was a little shocking because then it became Facebook fodder. More recently, there was a question exactly about that open space. It was an email, it was about open space and the difference, and it was about reserve. And I did give, again, I responded. So I think the emails are responded to. Sometimes information being requested or the number of emails, the sheer volume, I think sometimes we get emails from an individual, 3 emails in a row, first thing in the morning. It is, difficult. And when you're suggested to Oprah something, I think that that's a legitimate request and that somebody chooses to do so or not do so, that's their prerogative. But I think the assertion that people don't get back, I think it's a little unfair. I personally do respond to emails as best I can. I wanted to just point out, I'm looking for the emails and perhaps she's not getting them. I'll re-forward them. But I think in fairness that I do, and I don't know, I can't speak for anyone else, but to the extent that I can keep up with the number of emails that one resident sends, I certainly do on those that are, questioning certain specifics about budgets. I know she has another email outstanding. And in terms of the, I guess the RFP, I think the village manager spoke, was it last week, Heather? Nobody's slow walking anything. I almost find it to be offensive to suggest that the village manager, the village attorney, and the CFO, did you say last week it was Bob Rooney or was it Chris Rudishauser?
It was both Bob and Chris.
Oh, Bob and Chris, and you said Matt Rogers.
And I said after we develop the RFP, we'll send it to Matt to review and then we'll be good to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's just inappropriate. It's not true. The fact that so many people do call it the Health Barn RFP should give everyone a moment to take pause and think about what they're saying. It's the Habernickel. Mrs. Loving was exactly correct. And I'm sure that there's a due diligence in the process of preparing an RFP. That's out of our hands. We said, I guess everybody said, go ahead and do the RFP. And that's what they're preparing. So I just don't think there's a slow walk. It's a process. It's a legal document. It's a lot of pages. And, you know, we want to make sure, I'm certain that there's no suggestion anywhere that it's the, you know, an invitation for one, that it's a legitimate RFP. So I just think that, you know, we try our best to get respond to emails. But not every email warrants a response. We acknowledge that we've read it. And to the extent that I've responded, you know, then you respond, you give an answer, and then there's another question, we'll explain it further. So I think in fairness, you know, we do explain things at village council meetings. I know that even earlier, Councilwoman Perrin mentioned about not enough transparency, and that the transparency binders, well, prior to my 2016 being sworn in as mayor, we didn't have transparency binders. So there's a whole, more importantly, that there's a whole process where budgets are discussed and information is shared. And I think that people are transparent. They do answer to the best of their ability questions that come our way. And, you know, if there's a specific question, it's also extremely difficult when we have council, you know, people are emailing 5 council members, because I'm certain I'm going to speak for my council colleagues. We're very apprehensive about replying all. We don't know who responds. And there's this reply all issue where we're not sure whether or not we may legitimately be engaging in a meeting. So, you know, I get very nervous. I don't know who's responding. I don't know if people are just responding on their own, which I typically do because I don't want to be perceived as engaging in a meeting. So, but I do respond, and I did respond specifically to that open space question because it was a reserve issue. And so the fact that somebody would suggest there wasn't a response, it's simply put wrong. So in any event, with that, I guess we're going to take a resolution to go into closed session.
Be resolved by the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood that the Village Council meet in closed session on May 12th, 2021 at 8 p.m. or soon thereafter as a matter on the agenda can be reached. And the said closed session be held via Zoom teleconferencing due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And be it further resolved that the matters to be discussed in closed session are limited to legal matters to include the town garage and personnel matters to include boards and committees and fleet services. These matters are allowable under NJSA 10:4-12 et sec. And be it further resolved that the minutes of this meeting shall be made available to the general public when such matters have been deemed completed by resolution of the Village Council. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I'm sorry, who seconded?
Lorraine.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.